with your hosts, Mr. Snidbits, Black Girl Marvel, Mr. Marvelite, all the movie things, the pre-review with Super Kami Guru, and me, the real study movie voice guy. Let's go to the poster wall.
Welcome, everybody, to the first episode of Season 1 of The Real Study. I am Mr. Snidbits, and this is the Real Study panel, and we will be discussing a few different movies tonight. Say hi, everybody. We are live. We'll be doing The Forbidden Kingdom, The Last Witch Hunter. We're also going to do Shang-Chi, but I'm going to step away for that since I've not seen it. I want to avoid spoilers. And then if we have time, we'll do some What If, but sounding like maybe What If is going to come next week. So let's move on over to the chatting wall. Hey guys, how you guys doing this week? How you doing, Brian? I haven't seen you in a while.
I know, it's been a while. Doing good.
Good.
Doing good.
Good. And how about you, Mr. Marvelite? Tony, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing fantastic. Glad that we're back on and love the way everything looks now. So
I'm pretty happy too. And then how about you, Lala? How are you doing?
I'm doing okay.
Just okay. You're like me. I'm tired. I'm tired as all get out. So anyway, so we are here to discuss some movies. And I think we are definitely going to get right into it. The first movie tonight is The Forbidden Kingdom. Now, this was a movie that was done by Mr. Marvelite for his redemption. Why is my camera not doing what I wanted? Anyway.
I just realized I have enough to redeem 2 more videos.
2 more videos. Okay. I know that Smash Brothers, when he's around, has tons of different points, so he can do 2 or 3. But so the 2 movies tonight were initially because of 2 redemptions. One, Mr. Marvelite. One was Captain Salty Dog, who I hope makes it, and we're going to wait for The Last Witch Hunter because that's Captain Salty Dog's pleasure or displeasure, if you will. How you doing, Cowgirl? How you doing? Welcome and thank you. Hopefully we didn't spoil any what ifs in the pre-show. What's going on, Silver Brand? What's going on, sir? That's one of the many TikTok mutuals that we have. And again, real quick, make sure you follow all of us on TikTok. That's Mr. Snidbits, Black Marvel Girl, all the movie things, and Mr. Marvelite. All of us on TikTok and on every other social media if we have it. Hey, there's Mickey. How you doing, sir? And okay, so we are going to get into it. And The Forbidden Kingdom. So Marvelite, you picked this one. What was the reason behind that?
Oh, I'm a glutton for punishment. That's pretty much what it is. I you know what it's you come like in the early 2000s. There was, if you notice, if you go back, let's just talk for a second here. There always seems to be in every decade there's like this focus of genres or like the way they do films and everything else. And the 90s was very I really more sitcom-y. I think you have a lot of like sitcom-y style movies. The 2000s they tried more cinematic stylings. And then you had like this little group of movies, and Brian's probably gonna roll his eyes, but it was like these little group of movies, like Sky High and things like that, where it was like this, you're making them into these heroes, and it was kind of like the guy the kid who plays in Michael Angarano. Yeah. Yeah, so he played in Sky High, and so I was a fan of Sky High. I liked Sky High, which it's funny because I think everybody talks about, they really should make a real like a live action, My Hero Academia, and everyone goes, well, yeah, it was called Sky High.
Yeah.
But like I liked him in that film, and so coming into this one, that was like was going for it. And in fact, I didn't know about this movie when it hit the theaters. I didn't know about this movie when it came out on like Blu-ray and DVD and stuff. It wasn't until I got into Blu-ray and there was a scene from this movie in like the hot reel where they were showing like all the things that Blu-ray could do in high definition in 1080p.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a scene from this movie with Jet Li and Jackie Chan, and then I saw this kid from from Sky High, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna give this a chance. And so I bought the movie without ever watching the movie. I just bought it, and I thought it was so bad that it was good, and it became a guilty pleasure for me. And then what ended up happening was I shared this movie with others, and then they all voiced their displeasure that I would ever turn them onto this movie. And so it became a hot joke within my friend base. And of course, coming with you guys, and I think you guys my friends, so I wanted to torture you just like I torture all of my friends. But ultimately,
We thank
it's
you.
it's still an enjoyable
Yeah.
movie. I really honestly feel like the movie's only good until like the last 10 minutes of the movie, um, where like it finally pays off and he's in the real world, and his he's obviously it wasn't all just a fever dream. He's actually able to kick these guys' butts.
Right.
Um, but it was one of those movies where it was like, okay, Jackie Chan, Jet Li are together. They're really making fun of each other a whole lot in this film. You had the actress who ended up being, I think, Mulan in the Disney live action
Yep.
series.
Yep.
So there's a lot of payoff for
Yeah.
like people to do something greater down the road, or in the case of Jackie Chan and Jet Li, maybe this is the end of their career. But ultimately,
No,
I mean, I found it fun. There were obviously things that just irritated the crap out of me in this film, but it's one of those things where I can look over it and I can just have fun with it regardless. So that's my
no,
initial take on it.
and I knew this, but I really wanted to hear you say it before we did this movie. You're going to be surprised because for myself, I ended up liking it right away. He was
Yeah.
like, "You're going to hate this movie," and I jumped in and. Oh, the name of the movie is The Forbidden Kingdom, the Jackie Chan Jet Li 2008 title. There are others, but they're the like highlights, I guess. Ultimately, anyway, Lala, what is your take? Black Marvel Girl, tell me your take on The Forbidden Kingdom.
Well, firstly, my name is Black Girl Marvel. Just to put that out there.
Did I say that wrong?
Yeah,
I am so tired. I am so tired. I apologize.
my name because everybody does it. I think I saw this in the theaters. I'm a big theater person.
Okay.
This hit my radar. Like I remember seeing trailers. This hit my radar because Jackie Chan and Jet Li were in it. And I don't think we've ever seen them in a movie together. I don't think we've seen them in a movie together since, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was their first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Together,
And,
The last.
and I'm a big fan of both of them separately. So I was like, oh, I gotta see this. And I like probably saying his last name wrong, but it's fine. I like Michael Angarano because he played Jack's son in Will and Grace. So that's like my first song. And so
Yeah.
I was like, and I watched Sky High too, so I was like, oh, okay, he got a movie. And I always laugh at this movie because I feel like I really feel like he felt like this movie was going to put him like it was going to be stratosphere. You know what I mean? Like this is going to be the movie that everybody was going to like take notice because he like got in shape and because some of those like some of the action he actually did himself. Of course, he had to stand in it, but he did do a lot of the stuff himself. And it went nowhere. But I thoroughly enjoyed this film. I don't think it's a bad film because I don't think every film has to be ridiculously cinematic or crazy or like the greatest story. I still feel like some movies can have like a simple storyline. Maybe you know what's about to happen, but it's entertaining. And this film is like super entertaining to me. Like it's funny. I feel like Jet Li and Jackie Chan were both cast in their roles perfectly. For Jet Li to be like this kooky, like monkey king that's like funny and silly, but can like go your butt. It was great. And Jackie Chan being like the drunk, like lowly type of thing, like it like, but it's all like a fighting style, like like this kind of giving back to like its own roots. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. It did fall into the trope of like white people doing kung fu, but we're not gonna.
Well, okay, to that point, Black Marvel Girl.
See?
I did it again, didn't I? See, my brain wants to say Marvel Girl because of Marvel.
I love how he said it like he's gonna tell it this time, and he like didn't.
I love how you razz me no matter what I do. Hey, Captain Salty Dog is here. Let's talk to Captain Salty Dog and change the subject as I embarrass myself for the second time tonight. Maybe I'll not do that again. Black Girl Marvel. Black
See, this
Girl
is why we need to
Marvel.
have titles under our name.
No, it's really hilarious is you guys are in my chat right there. I can see you and I can just read
Yeah,
it.
like-
And it's my brain. This is called dad brain. Okay. I did just have a
Yeah, there you
baby.
go.
Girl.
Yeah.
I think people like the name Marvel Girl because Marvel Girl, like
Right.
people like that, so they automatically flip it immediately, like so.
But you are saying that you
are
are a black girl who is a Marvel, and that is a very different than saying you are a black Marvel girl. And I appreciate that, and I will try my hardest to click this dad brain into gear.
But then there's the
It's
catch
fine.
that if like with my name, you could say Mr. Marv, but you can't just say Black Girl because then it's like, you forgot the Marvel.
Right.
But see, I
Yeah.
think also some people don't want to say black girl because they think it's like it's offensive. But it's,
Oh yeah.
Huh.
so I
But
think
it's not.
a lot of people
Right.
say
Exactly.
it's not. So they'll be like, they'll say, I'm not saying that this is what Snitty is doing, but
No, yeah. Don't. You're good.
But like a lot of people go Marvel Girl. They just drop the black, right?
I find that more
And
offensive.
I do.
No, because
I do
you
I'm
chose
just-
the name. You know,
Right.
it's like that's my name.
Exactly. Like, call me by the name that I chose. So like
Right.
you drop
Yeah.
the black parts. I think
Because
people
it
have to-
it almost identifies that they're uncomfortable saying it. Like
Yes.
like
Oh, yeah.
That's how I
Jeez.
spot.
Did you see who showed up in the chat there, Lala?
That's funny.
Black Girl Marvel.
Yes.
My wife, Bats McSkelly, has shown up in the chat. She hasn't been in the chat in a really, really long
Oh,
time.
hey.
And of course, Muncie is here, and there's
Muncie's
Mickey,
back.
and we had some other TikTokers stop by. Maria's
They do.
here. Ray stopped by. Sorry, go ahead.
I felt
Yeah.
You know what's funny?
It's
Like I have never had a problem saying your username, but like
Mhm.
when I've
Yeah.
gone to say your actual name, I feel like
Yeah.
I'm almost worried that like I'm crossing the line, like not keeping the persona. So like I have to remember
Right.
sometimes
Mhm.
just to say Black Girl Marvel versus saying your actual name. Because
Yeah.
it's like, I want to be Mr. Marvelite. Yeah, you can call me Tony. I don't care, but that's the persona I'm trying to go by. But
That's a fair
I feel like
point.
when we doing something like if we're doing something like this, it's for me it's interchangeable. You can go like Black Girl Marvel or la. It doesn't matter. But if
Yeah.
if we're like on social media like a TikTok, Twitter type of thing, just call me Black Girl Marvel.
Yep.
I just feel like it's easier that way because this is like it's like friends getting together talking and
Yeah.
we're not gonna get together and talk and be like, oh, the movie things, tell me, like we're just gonna kind of like shorten it down and like and just say each other's names. So
Yeah.
we'll just start calling
but
you
I enjoyed this
AT&T.
film. For me,
There you go.
when Tony redeemed, when he redeemed the Forbidden Kingdom, I was super excited because I own this film.
Yeah.
So I love it.
So I had never seen it, and all the movie things. I do want to get your take on this, but what they've said has led me to kind of my take, and if it's okay, I'd like to jump in here.
Yeah. No, for sure.
So I start this movie and I'm immediately dreading it because I liked Jackie Chan and Jet Li. Actually, I like Jet Li a lot more than Jackie Chan because he tended to do a more serious kung fu style film, and he would really approach it from usually a bad guy perspective or something. He had a very less goofy approach than Jackie Chan. Doesn't mean I didn't enjoy some Jackie Chan films, but Rumble in the Bronx and that era was kind of when I liked Jackie Chan, and then I kind of fell away. Jet Li a little bit more later, especially with like The One and a lot of his more Americanized movies. I really did enjoy them, but I walked into this just dreading it because I basically stopped watching kung fu movies 10 years ago and just kind of all around stopped. I turned on this movie and I'm like, holy crap, this is paying homage to all of both of their films going all the way back to the beginning of their careers. This film is a culmination of basically both of the main characters they played throughout time. Especially the Drunken Master. Like that's literally 3 films that Jackie Chan played that very specific, not even that character, but an iteration of that character within the Drunken Master series, even if he wasn't the exact same character. So everywhere through the whole film was either paying homage to Chinese history, Chinese mythology, and then of course the films that they did. And I got a Gremlins feel. I got kind of like a not Goonies, but another
I got like a never-ending story feel, like where you get transported into
Yeah.
the new world.
TMNT
Yeah.
is what I got from it. The feeling of the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles kind of a feeling, but in 2008. So like I was like, whoa, updated. But yes, I have to admit, Jet Li as the Monkey King I was giddy. I was like, this is perfect. I was so excited, and I was like, can we just get a Monkey King movie? Just him. I would have been happy with
I'm-
that.
You
So
didn't really see him. You don't
Not
really
enough.
see him in that kind of character. Yeah.
so that's my just initial take. So go ahead, all the movie things. Let's hear it.
Okay. Mine is probably not as agreeable, but
He's gonna destroy this film.
not
He's still
necessarily.
on fire. He's gonna-
Like I first, like I was kind of like not really dreading it. You know, I was kind of looking forward to it. I'd never seen it before either. And also, like, I have to, like, the caveat, I had just come off of seeing Shang-Chi. I was, like, fresh off of, like, all the fight sequences from that film. And so I'll talk about the good stuff. The good stuff, obviously, Jet Li and Jackie Chan. They're they're even when they're like older and later in their career, they're still like doing the work and just amazing. Yeah, exactly. And so that fight between the two of them, you know, was really incredible. It was long too. Like they really like wanted to like squeeze as much out of those two as possible in that fight between the two of them. And there's a funny tidbit I read about that. Jackie Chan said it was probably one of the easiest times he's ever had to like work with someone else in a fight sequence. Like it was just natural with them. It was super easy between the two of them, and they had no problem just working. I mean, that just makes sense, you know. Yeah, and then, like the Monkey King thing was great to see Jet Li and play that kind of role. And right off the bat, they introduced that kind of like mythology and the backstory of what this is. Um, yeah, I really enjoyed that because like Jet Li always does play, like I was mentioned, like a pretty serious character in a lot of his other stuff, and so it was just nice to see something different from him. Um, yeah, and like the big thing I didn't like was the whole like again, this is an older film, so it was 2008, and
The
the
height of
whole
the
like
tolerance era, basically.
yeah, like yeah, like so this whole like this white kid coming in to kind of you know kind of be like, and he didn't know a lick of like martial arts
Save
or anything.
everybody.
Yeah,
Save
like I was like, so like that part was really hard. But another thing too was like I felt like he wasn't making any of the choices himself. Like I feel like he was just kind of like drug along through this. He was kind of thrown into this, and he really wasn't. I felt he wasn't like progressing his own story forward. And like Jet Li and Jackie Chan's characters were kind of the ones really driving things, along with the Golden Sparrow character. I think they were all kind of like really driving things. And like even near the end, I felt like, oh, he's still not making his own decisions. Really, it's kind of just like it's kind of happening. That's just
Even
how
the
I felt
fight
about it. Like,
towards the end that he
yeah,
got in didn't feel. I hear you.
I felt like it like things just like were like happenstance. Like he wasn't actually the one driving things. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And granted, there's a lot of characters going on, so they all have to have their own kind of like stories to tie off, and everything. But yeah, so this film was like just okay for me. Um, but there's definitely some great fun bits in it. I mean, yeah, like it's been mentioned before. What was that?
How dare you say this?
So let me
I
let
know,
me.
I
I want to put all of your minds at ease real quick because I too noticed that that the person of color trope, that hero trope that we all have been seeing lately, and I really didn't like it. So I looked and I was like, "What is this?" And I found out if you read, both Jackie Chan and Jet Li were asked, "Would you like to have a Chinese student or a Chinese lead in the movie?" And they both said, "Heck no, we want a white kid." So
Interesting.
chew on that however you want to deal with that,
Yeah.
whatever that means to you. But they both were like, no, we really want this to be a Western movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
I have no problem with that if that's what they chose. It's still a
Right.
trope.
Right.
Yeah,
No,
the
agreed.
anxiety
Agreed.
yeah.
bothers me too.
Yeah.
whole thing.
Yeah.
But like I said, I like the actor, so it was like a change.
Oh yeah.
But I will say the
Right.
only thing I don't like about this film is that he doesn't get called out for getting hop shot. He doesn't get called out for it. Like he gets him shot because you get beat up. Like I always laugh because to me this was when writing was like so. Like people didn't really put too much into writing or stories or things like that, like the whole thing. Because you got beat up and then you went to commit a crime with the people that beat you up. Just get beat up
Right.
again and be a good person. So, but I get it, the story could progress if you didn't do this, but you got somebody that like essentially, I'm not gonna say he loves you, but like you guys have a good rapport.
Yeah, exactly.
And you
Yeah.
got him shot. And then you came back and he's want to live because obviously he's the immortal that we see,
Yeah.
throughout
Yeah.
the film. He's like, did you return it back to the owner? He's like, yeah. And he's like, you the man. No, you're not. You got me shot.
You got me shot. It would
You
still
got me
hurt.
shot,
Yeah.
and
That's
and
funny.
nothing's gonna happen to you. Like I get it. Like it was just I don't like it when people don't get when consequences aren't real in films.
Mm-hmm.
Like they just want you to be
Right.
like on the side of the like protagonist or whatever. And it's like
Mhm.
I don't mind on his side because he's a little lowly and like he gets beat up and
You don't like 80s
obviously
films? That's their trope.
I love 80s. I know, but here's the thing, I love 80s films.
Deliverance leads to
That's
redemptions.
an 80s genre type of thing. And if I'm getting into the 2000s, it's getting better writing and things like that. Like we shouldn't get that type of story in 2008, I feel. But that's what was happening during that time.
Yeah, I would say between like 2001 and 2010, the movie industry said, "What can we do?" And they just did whatever they wanted because there was no accountability even for anyone on any level at that point. It was like the heyday of everything. Anyway, we can move away from that. So, you've rewatched this movie, Mr. Marvelite, and you've come to some new conclusions, or you feel kind of the same way you did about it before.
Well, still the same way. It's still a guilty pleasure for me. I'm just gonna say it that way. It's one of those things where I don't feel that guilty, but because I feel a little guilty because sometimes I wonder if I encourage other people to watch it, I'm gonna ruin a friendship. But I will say the couple things that did really kind of pop out to me. They really tried to play the monk not being the Monkey King and everybody being surprised when he became a hair of the Monkey King, and like. It was the most non-surprise twist at the end. Like
he looks exactly
it's
like
the
him.
same
yeah.
guy.
I was like, what?
He's playing
Yeah.
two people. Like
It's
really?
It's the Superman effect. It's the Superman effect. Like I got a curl and you can't tell it's.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. We could
I
go into
promise you
Superman.
I know.
Anyway, sorry. I have arguments that go for Superman, but that's.
But
okay.
I will say something. You mentioned Superman. I feel like Superman's a jerk because basically Clark Kent is what he thinks of us as being the superhuman being. The best way to be a normal human is to be this clumsy
normal
idiot.
humans are like.
But that's
Yeah.
what I mean. Imagine if you were, I guess he's perfect in the physical sense, like as far as the upper levels of everything you could do, I guess. But it would be hard to walk around like that and see people falling to pieces, and you'll outlive them for. I don't know. It just seems. I get it.
Well,
I would do it too, I guess.
Another thing too is like he's lived on Earth like for a long time. He knows he knows how we are, how mortals our Earthlings are. So it's like, but he chose this like persona to go with instead.
I'm gonna look at it in a certain way. Like I do get what Mr. Marvelite is saying, and it is like for real, Clark. Like your parents are human. Like for real. Like come on, like you were raised by humans, dude.
Right.
Part of me is also
just
like
be a country bumpkin.
exactly.
Yeah.
Part of me also feels like he essentially does not want to be noticed.
Yeah.
And
He tries to
nobody
hide
notices the nerd that's always like doing something else. Like they're very and if you do notice him, you're dismissive of him.
Oh yeah,
So
no, that's
for a while. It's like
except for
it's
now,
kind
every
of
time they
That's
get
a
a nerd,
great
I'm like, what are you
point.
hiding?
That's the horror movies doing that to you, Marvelite. That's what that is.
No, she brings up a great point because that's like we dismiss that kind of thing, and it makes it awkward for others to be around that kind of person, so they want to like separate themselves from that. So
Yeah,
that's-
no, yeah. If you feel awkward for a person, you want to leave the situation like as soon as
you're like,
possible.
okay, I gotta
Basically, it's feel like
Yeah.
Aldrich Killian at the beginning of Iron Man 3.
Right. No, that's a very good
Yeah.
point. That's his persona, not as
Waiting up on the
deep,
roof.
but still the same
Yeah.
concept. So let's just be clear. Superman is a hell of a character, so much so that he can jump right in the middle of a movie discussion and take right over.
Right.
He doesn't need help.
My favorite
Exactly.
movie because
Yeah, but
this
those
is
make
all
him
my
super
friends.
interesting or super jerk.
because
So-
because all the movie things brought up. Wait, did you bring up Killian, right?
I did.
Like Aldrich Killian from Iron Man.
Marvelite.
Brought him up.
Mr. Marvelite did. Yeah.
Okay, so to me, like I wish that they would have made Wonder Woman 84's Barbara that bad. Like he had like the comb over, he was like he was limping, he just looked sad, and Wonder Woman 84's like Barbara just looked like she needed a makeover. Like, there was nothing like
Oh.
wrong with her. She just
So-
needed a makeover and
Yeah. That's.
So Maria said in the
Right.
chat, she was like, "But how can he be a nerd? Look at him." And that's if you're looking
Yeah,
at
I know,
Cavill.
like-
If you're looking at Cavill, I agree. He's a built like man's man, right? Like, but if you look at Reeves,
Reeve did a great job.
the
yeah.
way he was Clark Kent was brilliant. Like he
Ralph,
played both
too, yeah.
sides. Like
No, but if I'm gonna be real honest, Reeves is a good looking man. Brandon Routh, like no, I haven't met a
True.
Superman they've cast.
Yeah,
that's
Now,
fair.
There are some like the Dean Canes and the Henry Cavills of the world are just like ridiculously like you gonna notice that nerd in the suit with glasses. You gonna notice him, but I feel like I haven't met an ugly Superman, so I feel like it's the persona of that you don't look at nerdy people, right? Which is something they have to kind of change because nerd is in now. It's the age of the geek, baby. You know, like so like it's hard to not notice. Like I mean I consider myself a nerd, but like if I like glasses, I like when a person is nice and down to earth.
right.
So you're his Lois. Like you would be his Lois. Like in a
I'm a little
sense.
spicy, so that's pretty more
Absolutely.
Do you misspell every word? Because that's definitely one of her tropes. So
I love that's one of her tropes that she wants to be a journalist and she misspells words.
Yep.
It's the greatest
but
thing.
she doesn't let it stop her.
Yeah.
She pushes anyway. So
Oh.
okay. So we
Let me say this real
What an
quick.
editor is for.
right.
And this is something that's always bothered me about Superman and everything, because when you look at like the comic books or you look at like Henry Cavill, they cast this guy, with the exception of Christopher Reeve and Brandon Routh, that he's extremely muscular and there's all these rippling muscles and he's got this this physique. But would it not be that Clark Kent or Kal-El being an alien from another planet where the yellow sun actually gives him his powers, that he would have been more of a body type like Peter Parker, where he didn't have to have rippling muscles.
Right.
His power would have been because of the fact of his absorption of yellow radiation, which would then cause him to be more powerful. But we have these guys that it's almost laughable that they have these muscles, but they can still pick up all of these big
But
things.
they don't need them.
But the science,
Well-
they don't need him. He could be this skinny kid,
Yeah.
which he is as a child, picking up trucks,
Blame
and all this other stuff. But,
80s comics and 90s comics, man, because before that they were all drawn like regular type folk, and then all of a sudden the 70s, 80s, and Frank Miller came along and people got bloated chests, and you get animated Superman and Batman where it's like the waist is like that big
I
around.
love playing devil's advocate, but I feel like that still tracks, regardless of being an alien or not, because even on his home planet, he would have just been like a normal person. So if he worked the field in his home planet, he would have built those.
He would have developed.
But-
yeah,
But his
yeah.
dad was a scientist.
But you would build muscles from exerting yourself and challenging your muscle density, or your muscle you work out and you build resistance. But if you're on Earth and nothing is too big for you, how are you really building up that type of physique? It'd be like you carrying like
like it's
5-pound bars all the time. You're gonna get
I feel like
definition,
it's
but
a
you're not gonna get bulk.
combination of- I feel like it's a combination of him like just working and like he's not overly exerting himself, but he's still exerting himself and the power of the sun together, which gives him his body. Like I'm just a firm on it. But I wouldn't have minded. I know the animated. Which animated is it? Flash Paradox, where it's like they kept him hidden. He was like a really really skinny Superman. Like he can like know his parents. Like they like other like Russians or somebody found him or something. But he
Oh,
was
the
stupid.
Red
yeah,
Sun
yeah,
Superman. Yeah,
Was that
Red
okay?
Sun.
He was like really, really skinny. He was like really, really
Yeah.
skinny. He had like Justice League. I actually wouldn't mind seeing a less physiqued Clark Kent. Like honestly, I wouldn't mind it
Granted, bro.
just to see how that would go. Because would people still love him if he wasn't like if people still admire that he's saving old
Right.
ladies from getting hit and saving cats and picking off all this kind of stuff if he's not like muscular with a curl, you know what I mean? I just want to see.
I love
the
that.
the old Superman television shows, whenever they'd run out of bullets, they throw the gun, and that was when he dodged it. And-
Yeah.
but I will say this: I find it completely unfair that this alien comes to this planet, and he is out in the field working, and he's absorbing yellow radiation. He becomes a super physique guy. I go out and do the same thing, and I end up with melanoma and a case of a bad back.
Yeah.
So regardless, you know,
I have
it's not fair.
a huge tan on my forehead. Look.
Oh,
wow.
Captain Salty Dog, thank you
yeah.
for the bits. That's so nice of you, sir. We are going to get to your movie here in just a minute because I don't think we're going to spend a ton more time on the Forbidden Kingdom.
Well, let's
I
face
think
it, it's so
the
forgettable
conversation
to talk about
shifted
Superman.
away pretty quickly. Why don't we go
Yeah,
ahead and
pretty-
rate it? Let's go ahead and
pretty-
rate this film and move on.
Pretty
Smash
challenging,
Brothers,
that
hello.
movie, yeah.
And
Thanks, man.
I just want to cover just hellos to everybody. Call me by this name, Maria. That's a very difficult name to remember. Ray Wu is here. We've got, I see a lot of us in the chat. We've got Silverbrand. We've
All of
got
our
Muncie.
friends.
We've got
Dylon's
Smash
in the chat.
Bros.
He's
Dylon?
not talking. He's just lurking.
Oh, you shouldn't call people out. Don't call people out. Let them lurk.
I
Let
have
them
to.
lurk
He's
quietly.
He's from my stream.
Oh, okay.
He's
So
the one who
just
bought me my Stan Lee Funko Pop.
no, we see you. No, I'm kidding. Superman Returns.
Brandon
Anyway.
Routh version is one of my favorite versions. So I'm with Cell Phone Molly Keys on that one. A lot of people does not like the Brandon Routh version, but that film made me cry. Like I cried on that film when they
There
were
were
like
great
beating
parts,
him
but
up
the story
on,
was
like,
terrible.
He said there were great parts.
Great parts of the film, but the overall like plot I thought was horrible.
Oh, here's the thing. It could have been done a little bit better, and I don't. But to me, the biggest issue of that film is the fact that I didn't like Lois Lane. Kate Bosworth is Lois.
She's better than Amy Adams as Lois Lane. That's just me, though.
Hey,
For me, honestly, I prefer Amy over Kate, and that's no offense to Kate, but she just didn't have like that snappy, strong type of Lois feel for me.
Yeah, it wasn't like Margot Kidder's. Yeah.
Kidder is
Yes.
Lois, but that's just me.
yeah.
And I wanted to have like, because I like Brandon Routh as Superman, but I feel like if you don't have a good Superman and a good Lois, your film is going to go down because they're a pair.
Yeah.
They don't leave their love. I didn't get it. Like the best thing she did
totally.
was pass out when the plane landed. That was the best thing she did. She could have stayed asleep.
Yeah.
And I just have to say
Yeah,
this
yeah.
for the fact that I'm a big fan of it. Erica Durance in Smallville was a good Lois Lane as well.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, totally. Yeah. I love.
Honestly, she's one of the best. She's one of the best for sure.
Yeah.
So let's do a
Strong
vote.
and not very smart. Yeah,
Let's do a vote, or not a vote, but a review on these. And of course, as always, we're going to carry over some traditions from the previous shows to this one, and we will do what our kid self, or roughly 12-year-old self, would think of this film. And of course, if you saw it at 12, that's another thing to consider. And then what you think now. And we're going to go with Black Girl Marvel first. Look at that, I got it right.
Nailed it.
Right. Hey. Oh, you an hour babysitting. Every time you get my name right, oh, you an hour.
I'll get a jar. Put a little IOUs in there. 100 is a ticket to. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
What was this Forbidden Kingdom? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Me now rate this film. I give it a solid 7.5. Solid 7.5. Because even though the plot wasn't it wasn't like a brain trust of a plot. Jackie Chan and Jet Li to me were the draw. They're the only reason. I didn't go for the plot.
Oh yeah.
And they didn't disappoint me, right? So,
Right.
but overall 7.5. Watched it way too many times to count, but it's 7.5.
Oh wow.
12-year-old me will probably give this like an 8. It'll just be a little bit further up because 12-year-old me would be like, I like the prosthetics that was on Jet Li, like even as a kid. To me, it still holds up now if you watch it. Like it's not like overly like bad. Like even Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon like moments are still pretty good and hold up. So I would like 12-year-old me would probably be super excited for this. And it was like a female, even though I can identify with her, but still like women when they do good things, when they're like holding their own, and she died on her own accord, and I think even so 12-year-old me at 8.
Yeah.
Mr. Marvelite.
Okay, so overall, the film gets a solid 5. I give it a +1 for the fact that Jet Li and Jackie Chan end up fighting over Michael Angarano and end up beating him up in the process.
Yes,
I give it another plus. I give it another +1 for Jet Li peeing on Jackie Chan.
Yeah.
And I did, and it was like that. It was like that. I'll give it like a 0.2 for the ending, his bow work at the end as they're leaving him from the rooftop. I just thought that was cool. It made me want more of an actual good movie with him, but that's just how it is. So I say 7.2 is my strong. As a kid, I would have loved this. It would have been a 9 at least. So
a 9 as a kid. Okay. Okay. All right. How about you? All the movie things. What is your rating of the Forbidden Kingdom?
Today it's probably about a 6. And and Lala made a good point of like, Jackie Chan and Jet Li are the draw for sure. And like there was actually a fun little thing I read about, like the original trailer that was put out there showed too much of the young actor first, and people were like in an uproar over it, so they quickly gathered themselves and made a new trailer.
Who he is.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Nobody knows who he is. Even in the credits in the beginning, it says Jet Li and Jackie Chan first.
Right.
Everybody else's name, and then it says with Michael.
Yeah. He's also not on the cover.
Exactly.
But
yeah.
He's on, like, nobody cares. Like nobody knows.
But he's supposed to be the protagonist. Yeah, exactly. Right.
He's a vessel for Jet Li and Jackie Chan.
Exactly. Yeah. And so yeah, 6. Yeah, I saw this when I was 12, which I probably would have liked it much more. Probably would have been like an 8 right there. So.
Captain. An 8 when you were a kid. That makes sense. Captain. Jet Li, Jackie Chan, and the other guy.
Yeah, basically.
I wouldn't have minded if that was the name of the film.
That would have been possibly, and then subtitled The Forbidden Kingdom.
Exactly. Like,
or
Jackie Chan, and the other guy in the Forbidden Kingdom.
In the Forbidden. Or go to. They take a trip to the Forbidden. Anyway. I didn't like the way he
beat up a white kid.
He just fell off the freaking roof into the Forbidden Kingdom and had to like wing it. That bugged me a bit. There were definitely things about this movie that definitely bothered me that would lower the rating. I liked Marvelite's approach, the role playing approach, where he's like, okay, your standard base is a 5 and you get a +1 for this ridiculous comment and this scene. I like that. So if I started at a 5, I would have to start subtracting with all the negative things I'm thinking right now. But the Monkey King brings it back. Seeing the two of them fight and then reading the behind the scenes stuff, there was some pretty interesting things about that experience for them that I thought was pretty cool. I do like looking into these kinds of films. I was working at Hollywood Video when this came out, and I got to see the cover every single day for a while. Because it was one of those movies that had like a half shelf. It didn't even fill because a new one would get a full, like a big, like a summer blockbuster. Anyway, by the time it got to the other end of the thing where it's down to like 2 tapes, I was just like, I don't ever want to watch that movie because I kept staring at the cover. I don't know if anybody's ever worked at the theater or worked in a video store, but you just get that sense that I just don't care about these movies because I've seen the cover too many times. But it's a weird thing. That's why I never saw it. Ultimately, I still want to give this an 8 just because of the way it ties back to everything, and we can talk about the political nature of everything we discussed before the show, and all that's. It is what it is, and I hate that, but at the same time, these are films in history at this point, and so we have to view them from that perspective to a big degree. Hey, I worked at Hollywood and Regal as well. That's awesome. And Cinemark, and I worked way too many places. We don't need to go into it. My kid self probably wouldn't have liked this movie as much because of the jump fighting, the fly fighting. I hate that in most movies. I did not like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon for that reason. It drove me insane to watch these people fly fight in a way that
I
did
know
not
your name
work.
now.
It did not. Oh, thanks. I appreciate that. By the way, I did want to start a challenge since we're on the subject. If you guys can manage to muster some ridiculous number, not to be determined yet, of subscriptions to this Twitch account, I will put myself through the ringer and watch The Room, which I have never seen.
Oh God. How have you not watched The Room?
On principle. Oh, Lala hasn't seen it
Principle,
too.
it is
Oh,
amazing.
the numbers have doubled. So in order to get the two of us to watch it, you're going to have to really jump up those
All right,
subscriptions.
first off,
So,
I've never seen it as well.
You need to see
oh,
how am I the only one in this group that's seen it? I've seen it multiple times in the theater. That's the weird. Okay,
oh,
for a
that's
second here.
awesome.
Like, you have to see it in the theater. Like, the experience of it in a theater is unlike any other you're going to experience. It's hilarious. Like, I'm sorry, it just stands the test of time, and it's just
Now,
walking into it, it's terrible.
To be clear, we're not talking about the Brie Larson film, right? We are talking.
No,
I'm
that's
kidding.
called
I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's somewhere that Brian got really serious. Not only did he slap his leg, but it's like
Profanity
it's
just
out
came
window.
out the window.
He's like, but you gotta
You
understand.
guys gotta I'm sorry. Like,
I love it
it's so good. Oh man.
So 3.7 out of 10 on IMDb.
Yes.
Okay, so here's the thing.
bad.
Let me explain real quick because I want you guys to be able to talk
Tommy
about Shang-Chi
Wiseau,
really.
that's why I never
So
watched it.
there's a reason I never
Okay.
saw it. So the same reason I didn't watch Forbidden Kingdom, there was this, I saw the cover every day, right? So I worked at a video game store where it was, think of it as like Empire Records, but for video games. So like, it was like the smelly version of Empire Records. No offense to nerds, but it was just the reality of what it is. And
It had a smell, yeah.
there was a pungent odor in a video game store we had to spray all the time, but that's not the point. The point was we were like Empire Records, very free floating, got to do what we wanted and kind of just make sure the store was held down and sold stuff. It was very Clerks or Empire Records, if you will. But the guys I worked with were all very quirky, if you will, in various ways, like me, but probably quirkier. And one of them loved The Room, and I, on principle, had to stand against it, and then that sort of unwound. No, hold on here. It
built it from
it built from there, but then eventually I'd see a clip here or a clip there, or they'd tell me lore, or they'd tell me how much people loved it, and I don't like bad movies for the purpose of bad. Like if they, I don't know, it's weird. Like I love Army of Darkness and Evil Dead 2, but there's a sense of they did right in that film, so it's okay, but in The Room it's all wrong. So like, why am I going to waste my time? I don't know. You're going to make me watch that movie and I'm going to scoff at the whole thing and hate it and then rip it to shreds. So I'm forewarning you that's likely to happen.
That's the thing though. I mean, look at the scores. It's got a 3, but you don't watch it because you're going to watch some cinematic excellence like unlike you've ever seen, you know what I mean? Like the story behind The Room is really what is more, which is why they made, you know, the film about the making of it. So
I thought I'd give background at least. Anyway, go.
Well,
Lala, go ahead.
Oh yeah.
Good.
I just wasn't interested in seeing it. I was like, okay. I was like, I didn't know what it was. All I remember is
Right.
white dude with dark hair and glasses, and like people like it being plastered like all over like my Facebook and like Twitter. I was just like, when there's a mass appeal for something that's not Marvel, I just be like, all right. Like I don't really pay. I'm just like, this fine.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I'm just like, I'll get to it one day.
Yeah.
Because it was like a crazy.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the
there's
same thing. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, there's a theater in Portland here that shows it once a month, and it's always packed, like every month. And the thing is, like people throw spoons, like people yell out things at the screen.
So they do the Rocky Horror Picture Show thing.
Yeah, it's basically like Rocky Horror Picture Show experience, and it's awesome. You have to go see it in a theater if you can, but yeah.
All right.
Anyway, it's good. I love it.
Tidbits, so you don't watch bad movies for the sake of watching a bad movie. Have you ever seen Rubber?
That I'm interested in seeing only because of the premise, and that's all I want. I don't want anybody to tell me any more than I already know about the film, other than I should watch it.
Okay.
Which one?
What film did you say?
Rubber, the one about the tire.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Rubber. Oh my god.
I had forgotten all
I've
about
never
that
seen
movie
it
until
either,
I
but
saw a TikTok recently. I've watched
Yeah.
the whole movie. I've watched it from start to finish, and I didn't realize what I was watching. And after it was over, I probably still didn't. But after like letting it ruminate for a while, I was glad I did.
Yeah.
It's
All
one of
right,
those
all right.
things. Yeah.
Same
I
Silverbrand
plan
saying
on it.
Rubber is amazing.
Silverbrand, you can post a link if it's. I mean, I generally don't let people post links, but I know who you are, and if you want to put it in there, go for it. It just needs to be
Yeah, Straw Hat.
related.
Yeah, because he had a
Rubber
crap
review.
camera, so he was yeah.
Straw Hat has not been on my FYP lately. It's really weird. That's beside the point. So we should move on to that other movie so you guys can have a chance to talk about Shang-Chi, because I do want you to. So we're going to move on to the movie The Last Witch Hunter with Vin Diesel, with an all-star cast and Vin Diesel. So this was I'm sorry, everybody. Sorry, posturize. Get posture checked. Kiss meets the Phantom.
Or we could just say Vin Diesel's best movie so far.
I don't know. Pitch Black is pretty good, but anyway, and
that's-
he's also in
yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy. Okay.
I don't really count that.
I mean, I feel like all his movies, where we actually see him on film, are very similar.
Yeah.
Because he plays them one notes. There's no differentiating between like how he speaks, or he's always beating people up for the most part. Like he doesn't do anything different. Not to say I don't. When you're like one note or stereo, anything like that, like I don't mind that, but it's.
Let me say this about The Last Witch Hunter. Oh, sorry.
Diesel movie.
Yeah.
The audio cut. I apologize. I thought you had finished. I want to say this one thing about this film, and I think as soon as I say this, you guys are going to go, "Oh, why didn't they do that?" If you take Vin Diesel out of this film, change nothing, change no dialogue, change no scenes, change nothing, but replace him with Carl Urban, you have at least an 8 or a 9.
But you have Priest essentially.
No, but just these lines. Anyway,
you mentioned Priest. It's funny you mentioned Priest because one of the screenwriters wrote Priest on this film.
That's interesting.
This film.
So basically, just copy pasted.
Yeah. And then there's another film like they also did one of the Underworld films.
Oh
The
no.
later ones. So they're all like, it's like.
Yeah, it's essentially Priest then. It's just Priest.
Yeah. It's totally.
So
I don't know.
Warn you guys.
Witches.
In prepping for this movie, I was doing a little bit of research. Vin Diesel came out in 2020 and stated that they are in the works for a last.
It's already on IMDb.
Yep.
Yeah, it is for a sequel.
Why?
I'm here because I feel like these films deserve a place in media. Like I just do, because I feel like everything can't be Oscar worthy. Everything, like, you need a Sharknado in the bunch, is what I'm saying. Like, just to break up
They call that Fast and the Furious.
I don't know.
Sharknado with cars at this point.
I feel like we need it because I feel like I'm not going into a Vin Diesel film and being like, I'm about to watch Cinematic Genius. Like, that's not what I'm
No, we need date films. We do. People got to go make out at the theater. It makes sense.
You know, but I know it's going to be like high octane. I know it's going to have some good action, maybe a couple of quips that's kind of funny, and that's all you need sometimes. I don't need to have to really pay attention to a plot, even though The Last Witch Hunter will be a great television show and not a good movie. If this was a step-by-step of him, like, he can literally be like an immortal witch hunter that goes around saving witches from themselves. That's a great
like.
So you mean there's immortal
and
character
see him
that
in
goes
different
around
times
killing other like supernatural characters? Wasn't that called Highlander?
There can be only one witch hunter.
But yeah.
Can we talk about?
But I like the world that The Last Witch Hunter kind of set up. Like, because you brought in modern times, all witches aren't created evil. There are some bad ones. You know, you team up. Like, to me, it's like a typical trope. An immortal teams up with the enemy, but the Vampire Slayer, and they go around saving the world. So, like, to me, some movies are better as TV shows, and this would have been better if it could be longer, just broken up in a series. Like, I think it'd be better as like a 10 episode than a film.
You can see that taken in smaller chunks.
Then we have episodes for no reason though with filler. Although they've been doing more of the 10 episode thing lately on television, which is good. But
I could totally see it like Smallville, you know, where like they had the freak of the week kind
Yeah,
of thing. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's what every show
but
did
yeah,
with
that's kind of
regular
what the
television.
right. Yeah, yeah. So
Exactly.
And then the finales were
yeah,
the ones
that's
that
kind of what it
progressed
would
onto
be.
the main storyline.
Exactly.
Right.
X-Files is the
Yeah.
worst at it. Anyway.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how this movie
Well, we will not
opens.
talk about X Files. I'm just gonna say it right now.
We don't have to. So let's talk about how this movie
That movie
opens.
ruined me.
I've
That show
Oh,
ruined me.
never seen X-Files.
you should watch it. It's a good show. So,
I
Something
do not
tells
watch
me
X
I would
Files
like
on
it.
principle.
oh no,
I watched.
we need more
watched-
subscriptions.
I'm gonna say
The
this.
principle.
I watched the episode with the cockroaches, and it was during the summer. I was in my room. I had a TV in my room. I was a privileged kid, whatever. And so I'm sitting there watching the scene, and I did not realize that X Files like to mess with you. And so while I'm sitting there watching the scene where there's this dialogue between I think Mulder and Scully, there is this cockroach that like crawls on the screen and then goes up out of the picture, like it's crawling on your screen. I cleaned my entire room that night without stop. I was up until 4 in the morning cleaning my room because I could not find that cockroach.
Oh.
And it was not until I watched
Oh,
a
no.
rerun and I saw that it was on this. I was so mad. I was so mad.
It's a good show. So let's talk about the opening. Let's talk about the opening of this movie where when they show Vin Diesel with the long hair and the like Viking look for just the very first moment,
Yeah.
I was like, what movie did I just walk into the middle of? Like immediately,
I was
that's
like,
what I
was
thought.
into it. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah,
man.
exactly.
But it didn't
Yeah,
feel like a regular cold open where it like leads you. Like it was like we moved right to the epic moment. Like we found the tree, and I'm like, did I miss something? I mean, I can understand it, but when again, if Carl Urban had showed up, I would have been like, yeah. But because it was Vin Diesel, I went, nah, lame. So that's just me. I want to give him a chance. I do like him in a lot of things, but this was not his role. He dragged this movie down,
I could have
unfortunately.
taken a film. I could have taken a film about like being in the past, right?
Oh yeah,
The
yeah.
whole movie could have been like being back then, like leading up to like him stabbing her and him living forever type of thing. Like I could have took a whole movie of that, but it's
Mhm.
Vin Diesel, and they can't put him in like makeup and stuff or
Yeah.
prosthetics or whatever for
For
too
him
long.
trying to
So
have
they
an accent. Or
you gotta
anything,
make
yeah.
it modern so he can be comfortable. So it's
Yeah.
like
His
they
his
had to make it modern for a while.
his best role to this
I mean-
day is still Saving Private Ryan, and he's in it for a short period of time and has like
He's in it for,
6
like, 5
lines.
minutes.
He's got like 6
Yeah.
lines. It's like, but there's heart in his voice and his lines in that movie. Again, probably because the director helped
Was he talking
bring that
about
up. But
family?
he was actually. He was like, "Get this letter to my mom." So anyway,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Anytime it's about family.
he's good. So what did you guys think of The Last Witch Hunter? Brian, let's start with you.
Okay. This is super fresh since I watched it right before we started this show. Yeah, and it's another one where it's like bits of it were kind of cool. It relied a lot on like some CG stuff. Um, I like what Lala is talking about. Like there could be like some serious potential. You know, I didn't think about it that way at first, but um, yeah, there's some bits like there's a lot of predictable stuff. Like I was kind of like calling things out as it was going. Like I knew like well, his name is escaping me. His
Elijah Wood.
Dolan, Elijah Wood. Yes, thank you. I kind of predicted like Elijah Wood was going to have that, turn. And yeah, it just wasn't. It was probably about as strong as the Forbidden Kingdom, I'd say. I think maybe.
Which is crazy.
What's that?
Got like a 60 something on Rotten Tomatoes, and The Last Witch Hunter got like.
That's
30.
true. Yeah, no, this one
I was like,
was
okay.
like ripped apart. Yeah. I probably, yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, this one wasn't doing it for me either. And there's the whole like premise behind like, okay, like a curse can be like lifted if you kill the witch that put the spell on you, that cursed you. Yeah, whatever spell can be broken if you kill the witch that made the spell. And so they kind of had a little thing where it's like, oh, she's not, the witch queen or whatever, has not really been dead. The kind of, because of her heart still, so she's not fully dead, which is like, okay. because I was thinking about that the whole time. I'm like, wait a minute, she's supposed to be. So that was kind of bugging me through the whole movie. Like, hey, she's dead, so he shouldn't be immortal, and blah blah blah. So that kind of was like this loose end that they was like but we have this. You didn't see this coming, did you? Kind of thing. Where I was like, oh come on, that was it. Just felt like a stretch for me for that to be like, this is the reason why he is immortal, kind of thing. So
That was less of a
yeah,
stretch
that's
than
my
his
take.
sword that he kept sticking in the ground and having the flame hit the handle over and over and over, and then he'd pick it back up and
Every
fight with
time.
it before he was immortal. By the way,
It
Yeah,
was
yeah.
it.
Mr. Marvelite, let's hear what you think about The Last Witch Hunter.
There were some good concepts in this film that I felt at least made it tolerable to watch through. It's not one of my favorites, and it's one of those things where I've watched it, and I think it was on television once, and I couldn't find anything because I don't know what it is. We have over 800, 900 channels of television now, and then sometimes all you can watch is something like this. You know, it's either this or watching that My 600 Pound Life, and I don't want to know what my future holds. And so I'm sitting here looking at this this movie, and there are some concepts um in the plot that are kind of interesting. If you're going to have an immortal witch hunter, you know, the idea that he's collected witch hunting tools around, you know, he's figured out how certain things worked. Like he even uses like certain tests in um in identifying witches and stuff like that. He would obviously be feared amongst those within the witchcraft community. And so these beings are, you know, obviously scared and spooked. They know who he is. He's like their Baba Yaga.
Mhm.
You know, and so
Right.
you've got this world that's built around him, but I feel like he was really underutilized. And at the
Yeah,
same
it was.
time, they're burning it down around him at the same time. Like, oh, it's all culminating to this one big thing, but then it's not really. Because if he learned anything, he means, oh well, all witches aren't bad. You know, it's like
Mhm.
they're like normal people like us too, except they can do some horrific things. And you know, it's like okay, the misunderstood. I don't like when it's like, oh, the villains are just misunderstood, and you know, if you know you didn't kill them all, then you wouldn't have a problem with them, and that's not necessarily the case in this. It's like he was more of the scary guy that when they get out of line, he kills them. Whereas it would have been interesting to see him being utilized by the church to kind of
Just wipe them
police those
out.
individuals. There is this piece that has been built, and instead of him terrorizing, you know, that entire group of individuals, like he's policing them, and they kind of come to terms with that. I think the fear was
Mm.
understandable. Um, I think it was interesting to think that he was, you know, immediately trusting of this one girl to do all these things, and then like he pursues her and offers to pay off. You know, it was just interesting. And
Right.
then, but again, like I said, there are great ideas within this
Yeah.
to make the bigger world, but it still felt very small in how they showed it. So that was my take on it. That's kind of where I came from. And yes, the Elijah Wood, plot twist was obvious. I felt like the reason why he wanted to be his handler was too
Mhm.
easily clean cut. There had to be a problem there.
Right. Oh yeah, yeah. I was like, okay.
Be a problem.
It's a
Yeah.
one-dimensional film. I didn't think they were going to hide anything from us, and the best they did was hide
Yeah.
the heart, and it was barely hidden.
I
It
mean,
it
they
almost
told
felt like a bad Blade film.
Hmm.
Like it was like
Blade
Blade.
Trinity. So it's
Yeah.
Blade Trinity.
Blade Trinity.
Yeah. Yeah. Without
Ryan
Ryan
Reynolds
Reynolds.
almost saved that film.
I feel like
Almost.
I feel like he kind of saved it a little bit. I
Yeah.
mean,
If he had had a
but
bit more
yeah.
screen time, he would have saved that movie. So they didn't give him
I
enough.
don't think we give Ryan Reynolds a little bit too credit.
We do. He wouldn't have saved that film.
he
That's a
wouldn't have
nah.
no.
Back then, no.
Nope.
Anywho, Black Girl Marvel, do you want to give your full take on The Last Witch Hunter? Because I'm just going to keep tearing this movie apart. Go ahead.
Put another hour in the jar. Um,
Thank you.
okay. See, I've seen this film already. I saw it when it kind of came out. Like, I think it was one of those like it became like a free movie somewhere, and I was like, all right, it's sci-fi, and I like witches and stuff. Like I'm gonna watch it. And so I knew everything that was happening. So me rewatch. I was like, let me watch it again because I didn't watch
Right.
it since the first time it came out. So,
Mhm.
uh, like I said before, when I see Vin Diesel, I'm not going into it like this is going to be like a mental game I'm about to play with this movie. Like I know it's going to be very straightforward. It's going to be very. The plot is not going to be heavy because sometimes this is. I'm about to disrespect Vin Diesel so hard, and I really don't mean. I don't mean.
Ven, she doesn't mean this. She doesn't mean this.
Yeah, I know you're watching.
But I really don't. And I wouldn't mind working with him one day. I really would. But I feel
Right.
like
Oh yeah.
I feel like he doesn't understand like heavy plots, so nobody gives him heavy plots. Because I mean, even in Guardians of the Galaxy, bro just say I am Groot. Like he just like
Oh, well, hold on. Listen, I'm gonna give him a lot of hate, but he like there's a whole script for Groot in that, and I think that he did a
Right.
good job like conveying
no,
the.
listen, I'm not saying he didn't do the job. I'm just saying it's very straightforward what he does. Voice acting is very cool because he has like different takes and different levels. And I'm not saying he doesn't have a hard job in that, but again, a lot of his things that he does are very simple or very like straightforward. But for me, the last Winchester was like it had moments where it was very enjoyable. Like I said, I would prefer this as a series because you could flesh out his character more. You could flesh out the world more. It could have more world building. Like my writer sci-fi brain was going crazy with a lot of the things that we saw in this because my whole thing is okay. I don't like certain things where things that are written don't make sense. Like he told the girl he told the girl something like you know you're still a witch, like it's still in your blood. But bro, you're immortal. A witch cursed you, so essentially you have magic in your blood. So you just like me, like it's like, but nobody's connecting those dots. They're just like he's alive for some reason. Like no, you're magic now. Like nobody's just alive because they're not magic. So like you should hate yourself. Like it was a very Blade like thing where like he hated himself because he wasn't, but they didn't go that far. I think that at levels if they would have went that far. The fact that he's been alive this long, he keeps trusting people that do him dirty. Why? Because of fear. Like you stupid. Like I was just like, for somebody to be alive that long, you should know if somebody's playing you.
Yeah.
You would just think that things would just click in your head. Like you're essentially an assassin, a spy at times. You would think you would know if somebody, and you keep trusting all the bad people. Like he's never once went to the church for help. He's never once like he had Elijah Wood's character. But he's never went to the church and being like, "What's the resources that I have?" You keep going to the belly of the underground, where these people fear you and they only do things because they're afraid of you. You don't think they're gonna like lie to you or try to kill you or whatever it is. It was just you too old to be that stupid. And I don't like the connection between him and the girl. I think unnecessary relationships in movies really kill movies for me sometimes. And I already know that it's something romantic with them because that's how they were leading it. If they would have built this like a friendship, because there's no reason besides her own wanting to stay alive that she should be with him. Like there's no reason. There's always been bad witches in the world and you didn't care. But your bar burned down and now you care because they burned down my bar.
Well,
now I'm going to do
whenever you're with Dominic Toretto, you have to have family around. And everybody
You
comes
do.
up.
Yeah.
It's Calder, man. Come on, it's Calder.
Oh, he's still
But like
Dominic
I said,
Toretto.
I like
With a sword.
his name is Calder Toretto, so it's Dominic Calder, like whichever one it is.
Yeah,
I like that better.
Calder Toretto.
Hashtag family.
It works both ways, but like I said, it's like some of the action was great. Some of the acting from Vin was just like they should have said cut and do it again a couple times. Like, because big eyes don't mean you emotional, because his eyes were getting very big.
Yeah.
And stuff, he would be like, but you told me, and it's like that's not cut. Like let's do it again, sir. Like
I don't know if you're gonna get to work with him. No, I'm kidding.
I don't think so either, but it's cool. But I'll still say this to his face. So I don't have a problem saying his face. But he's in a market where it works for him, and he makes more money than I do. So keep living your life, and
yeah, he's doing what's working.
Yeah. Exactly, and I'm like, if you keep putting me in the girlfriend or the best friend thingy, but I'm making money, I'll do it. Like I ain't gonna be mad at it. I'm gonna do it. But like I said, there were good action moments. The effects for being 2010 still look pretty decent. I will say I like the makeup of the Queen Witch. I like that.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
That was very, very nice. But also you can still tell that she was like attractive underneath that. No,
Yeah.
make her uglier. Make her uglier. She's pretty.
Mhm.
Make her uglier.
Yeah.
It's not something I will watch all the time, or probably ever again.
Yeah,
Or anything like that. I don't.
Yeah.
I think this makes the never again list.
Yeah, like I wouldn't watch it unless somebody dared me and I wanted to win. That's the only thing that.
So I don't know if you guys caught that Captain Salty Dog says he's got enough points, he'll be redeeming the sequel for us. So keep that in mind.
Love it.
So I'm gonna give a little bit more. I really didn't like the sword because it didn't work out practically. I could tell they had something rigged to it to keep that fire going because it was actual fire and not digital fire. Because I'm sure Vin was like, "Can we make it real?" I'm almost positive he said that because he wanted to look like a badass holding that flaming sword, and
It gets pretty close to his face.
it does, and you can see the smoke coming off of it, so you can definitely tell it's real. But I don't know, it just is the most impractical weapon I've ever seen in a movie. I would take the noisy cricket over it every day. I don't know, it bugged me. There were a lot of scenes like that. It was one of those movies where there'd be a good scene and maybe a good line, and then Michael Caine, so like all is good, and then they'll kill Michael Caine. So then you're like, well, there goes the good part of the movie. So you have to sit without him for most of the film. Then of course, spoilers. He's not really dead. Because for some reason Calder just knows everything. Because in 800 years, you can literally learn everything, right? Because that's what they're essentially saying with this film. I didn't like that he seduced the flight attendant because he'd been around long enough to know her accent. I'm like, did you really study? Like, you spent 800 years studying accents, or again, he was just given all these abilities just because he was alive for 800 years. And I'm like, it would depend on what you were doing. A lot. So I don't know. That bugged me. His acting. He does, but he's also killing witches for 800 years. Well, how long are you going to be doing linguistics while you're also hunting witches?
I would say, like, if you're traversing the world in different eras and different times for as long as he has, I'm pretty sure
you pick up a few. But this was like an obscure town in an obscure peninsula. Like this was saying that he knew every corner of the earth, and I'm like, not in 800, 5,000 maybe, but not in 800. It just. And it's Vin Diesel, so he doesn't make me believe it. If you put Cillian Murphy in that role and then have him tell me 800 years, I'm gonna believe it. I'm gonna walk away going, okay, Cillian. You know what I mean? So
it's more so to do
or Carl Urban.
Vin Diesel. It's more so the fact you don't believe in Diesel. A character could have those traits because of how long they live.
I believe he can drive a car and he can fight Brian, for the car, and that's about the extent of my belief of his acting.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. And not this Brian. Not that Brian.
No, yes.
Paul Walker's Brian.
Side note, the stewardess plays Eve.
Oh, really?
She plays Eve. Oh, really? Yeah. I saw her and I was like, look at Eve. Hey, one of her first roles.
Captain Salty Dog. It's a Kyrgyzstanian accent from the town of Ishante. Exactly. I'm sorry. Like, I guess he was Eastern European. I don't know.
I will say this though, for Sneak's point, because that's my guy. I will say this: if they would have did an accent that maybe we knew, or like or of a town, or like something that we knew, like some kind of inflection that we knew, because I didn't know what that was. I was like, all right, her people from the old land. I don't know. Like it's right. Like it didn't like. For me, if it was something
make sense, he would know Europe better than anything else.
That's true.
Yeah.
It wasn't a South American accent or something, so right.
Yeah. Give me generic Europe. You know what I mean? Like I had to go look that up. I'm like, what is this? Yeah. I don't like research the movie.
Yeah, making me do work.
Let me watch and enjoy. Like.
Yeah. Like, what are you talking about?
This film came out in 2015, and that sword that you find highly unrealistic. Do you realize this followed up after How to Train Your Dragon 2?
I never saw that.
Likelihood. So in that movie, Hiccup has a flaming sword that's made out of dragon breath, and so I almost wonder if Vin Diesel, we know what his watching style is. He's like, can we do this for real?
Yeah, make that sword. I want that sword.
That was part of the pitch meeting. Yeah, it was like all around this flaming sword.
That's what it
Not
felt
gonna-
like because he used it at the end. Although the shotgun and the sword, man, that was bugging me. I'm like, why are you using the shotgun? And how? I mean, the movie fell apart, obviously, but at the end, he's like, he's not immortal, and yet he's fighting immortal witches.
Yeah.
I was like, what the?
And like giant creature, like yeah.
In the
Like-
beginning, he wasn't immortal, and he was still fighting them too, and he won. Like to me, that wasn't a big jump.
I don't know, but
But
then
the
he had his
army-
army, and it was only a couple of witches. He didn't fight the giant thing that Brian just brought. I don't know. I don't know. It started to lose me at the end. I don't know. I mean, it lost me halfway through.
When she exploded and he got the powers back, like okay, it was a shockwave. So, oh girl, the witch that he's friends with, she should be immortal too. Because I'm pretty sure she
Right.
got hit with that blade.
That's part 2. They're gonna have immortal babies.
Yeah, maybe yeah.
The only way that the sequel could redeem itself is if it's a prequel,
No.
and we get
Mm.
more of that middle
Oh.
Middle Ages.
As a rule, I think prequels should stop being made.
No,
Eh.
There was a lot of silence. For me, there's no
Yeah,
suspense.
you're
You
alone on
know.
that one,
No,
then.
that's fine. But there's no suspense. Or you get things like the Hannibal Lecter series, where it's like really, really good, and then you watch Hannibal Rising, and you're like, oh, he's just a guy with a mama complex. Like, I don't care anymore. He doesn't scare me now. He's just a douche. So like, don't douche up my villains with prequels. That's all I'm saying.
My thing is this: make a villain, make a villain like make me happy that this villain dies at the end.
Yeah.
Make me excited so bad.
Don't make me relate to him.
Honestly, Thanos, somebody talk to him. Thanos could have been alive. Like, he didn't have to kill him. Have a conversation. Because I sympathize.
Obviously, yeah, because that's what you know.
You know,
Anyway.
it's sad when the Hansel and Gretel movie with Jeremy Renner is much better than this.
It was. It was actually enjoyable.
'Cause you
And
wanted to
Gemma
hate
is
that
great in it.
witch.
Yeah. No, agreed.
Like even the witches hated the witch.
Right. No, exactly. And that's what you want. Like, that's what you want. Because my thing is, like, in the last one, it's a thing where it's like, the girl is just like, first she's very like, well, I'm not doing anything wrong. It's fine. Okay, but your people are. But you're mad at him for killing the it's like nobody's establishing, and he kind of says it at the end when he's talking to like the blind guy who's being possessed by the witch or whatever. Like he's like, I'm leaving
Paul
it on your
Bettany.
people. Just hunt the bad ones down. Like I've been letting y'all live y'all life, and we didn't have this truce, but I go after the bad ones. But nobody has stated that the whole movie. Like everybody hates them, which means all y'all bad. Ain't no good ones. Like all y'all bad. Because I wouldn't be mad if you killing like if this is what's been happening since the dawn of time. But I'm trying to live my life. I'm just trying to be as productive as I can in my little flower shop. But if you got someone who's cursing people, go kill them then. Like leave me alone while I
Exactly. I'm trying to be an entrepreneur here. Like, what are you doing?
Like, you just gonna come here and kill me? Like,
Yeah,
and that's not really like established.
I ain't out there casting spells. I'm here to look at trying to run a business when you're messing with my stuff. Yeah.
Flowers,
That's
You
funny.
don't
just
have
trying to, like,
insurance for this.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Bat and werewolf insurance.
Unless
Is-
it's State
is
Farm,
she
because them
the-
just appearing out of nowhere, that makes sense.
Is she like the only like? I'm confused about the witches in this world
Yep.
because what's his name? Like the bearded dude. It's like casting spells, and he seems very, powerful. She's just scared to cut the lights. Like she has to cut the lights on. Like what kind of witch? I get that she's a dream walker, and that's like one of her gifts. But you're still a witch. Like you should still be casting spells. And Vin Diesel casts more spells.
Well, and she had a bar full of spells and potions and the like. Like she had to have had some knowledge being behind the bar. Like not only that,
Even in
that
her
dude's that dude's power
the story
where he went through the floor and it was all like, holy crap, that's insane. And he comes out the wall outside. Like, could you go further away or something, or make it worth your exit? Like your exit was so crazy. I don't know.
A pyromaniac. He wanted to watch the flame.
I guess.
Remember,
Yeah.
it was kind of like
Yeah.
the church and the witches had like an agreement, and
Right.
the idea was that they didn't do certain things. And so, again, this is why I think Vin Diesel should have been more of like a policing, not just an assassin. Because I think they were trying to go that way, but they just didn't work. It was just him killing them, and
But that's what the church wanted.
So once you burn my
Well,
establishment,
imprisoning them
you took
also.
me out of the
Right.
wall. All bets are off. I'm casting all the spells I've been known since I was a child. Like, I'm killing everybody. Then like in my way. Like she didn't do. She honestly move her from the film, and somebody else could have brought him out of that trance, or he could have just been a strong immortal and brought himself out of that trance. Like her character was just like, I feel like they wanted Emma Stone for this, and they couldn't get her because that girl looks just like Emma Stone to me. Like they wanted her, and she
Yeah,
was
I
like,
mean, she had full
like,
red
I'm a
head.
cat.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, like she looks like her to me. Her comedy is even very Emma Stone, like how she tells jokes, or she looks like Emma Stone.
I think Emma Stone's funnier though.
Emma
Oh, for
Stone.
sure.
Emma Stone is a riot. Okay, so
She's
we're gonna need to
Yeah,
move off of
yeah,
this
what do we think?
atrocity and get to the pre-review so that you guys can do some Shang-Chi chat, because I'm gonna let you guys go nuts. And let's just do a quick, both numbers, no synopsis, and we will start with Black Girl Marvel.
Ooh, another hour on the docket. Me now, I give it a solid 5. It gets a 5.
Mhm.
0 me would give it probably just one up. Nah. I think 12-year-old me is pretty sophisticated, so I think 12-year-old me would give it a nice 5. Would give it a 5 as well. I would have liked it. I would have liked it.
All right. All the movie things.
Yeah, I'm gonna say probably 5 or 6 today, and yeah, 12-year-old me was probably maybe a 6 or 7. I don't know if I would have liked it anymore when I was younger either. So yeah,
Mr. Marvelite.
Okay. Let's start with the basis. I'm going to say a solid 4 just for just the base of the film, world building. I'll give it a +1 because of Michael Caine. Because
yeah, I was gonna say
we
he was like the
talked about
best
all these
line in
things
the
we
movie.
didn't like about it, but we liked him, and he was unconscious for most of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I liked his character. I liked how they used him as like a vehicle toward the plot, though it became predictable at some points. I liked that whole scene where he's like investigating in the room and he's discovering that there are all these spells that make the room look like it's normal, but it's not. You know, so again, like I said, world building. So I probably would say because of that, um, it was ambitious, but at the same time, I think we've seen a lot of this stuff before, where you have this selected person that hunts down these evil magical characters. I'd say probably just a 5 for me. And like my young self, I always give more. I'd probably say 5.5. Like I would watch the film, but it's not a movie that I'm going to just want to watch again. And I
Yeah.
will watch
Yeah.
the sequel. It's not Salty Dog doesn't have to make me watch the sequel, as some of you might have to be forced.
But it's fun if he
Because
does, though.
yeah,
Yes,
but
exactly.
it's again, if you can suspend disbelief and you can look over the holes, and then later on you eviscerate it, it can be enjoyable when you first start. And I no hate toward Vin Diesel. I like Vin Diesel in Pitch Black. I even liked him in some of the other the offshoots of that, the sequels. Um, but and I think Riddick was one of his strongest characters. But
The
I
game was
find
pretty
that
good.
yeah, but personally, I'm not a big personally Vin Diesel fan because I know of one of his cousins, and the stories that his cousin has told me just makes me think he's just this huge prima donna. Um, so
Probably is.
See
so
that.
you know,
He looks.
I'm normally just
Yeah,
a,
I've heard he
a
is too.
5,
Yeah.
maybe a 5.5. I'll be
5.5.
generous and say 12-year-old would say 6.
All right, so I would give it a 4 now. The sword really gives it a -1. It's bad.
Sword.
I
Points
hate
are
that
going down.
sword. So it's a 4.
Someone needs to make a T-shirt with a flaming sword on it and give it
I
to Snitty.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So-
There you go, buddy.
Blame home.
Enjoy your.
Oh, look at Captain Salty Dog with the flaming sword. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So no sword, -1 for that. I want to give a plus for Michael Caine, but he's not in it long enough. So I'm with Marvelite on that. There are some moments in the world building is cool, but it's not cool enough to redeem the film. I think the movie fell apart about halfway through, and then just kept I just kind of drudged through it, and I hate drudging through films. Anyway, you will have to force me to watch the sequel. That being said, if I was 12 and saw this movie, I probably would have given it an 8 because I was not sophisticated at 12 years old at all. I would have watched anything you put in front of me with action.
I would have watched it. I would have hated it at the same time.
Yeah. And as I got a little older, it would have been like one of those ones where I looked back and went, oh, crap, why did I like that? So that's just the way I see it. With that said, we're going to move on to the pre-review with Super Kame Guru. And if you guys didn't notice, we do have a intro guy. Everybody might have missed the intro, but he's our movie voiceover guy. His name is Cell Phone Wallet and Keys on TikTok, or also known as Mickey. And he's awesome. And so you guys can actually check out our intro if you haven't seen it already. That being said, here we go to the pre-review.
How's it going, Real Study viewers? I'm Sean, and I'm back with this week's pre-review of all the movies coming to theaters and streaming this week. Let's start off this week in the theaters with Cop Shop, starring Gerard Butler and Crossbones himself, Frank Grillo. This looks like a fun, dark comedy action adventure about a con man being pursued by a group of assassins who have more than enough personality. It really does look like a great one. The comedy in the trailer alone pulls me in. I want to watch it, so y'all should check it out. Also in theaters this week, Prisoners of the Ghostland, starring Nicolas Cage. Now let me tell you, the trailer itself will tell you this is the craziest Nicolas Cage film you've ever seen. And from the trailer, I'm starting to believe it. Post-apocalyptic samurai western ghost town. I mean, that's just the vibe I'm getting. The trailer claims it's a post-apocalyptic battle royale type film. It seems like Cage's character has been given the task of retrieving a very important man's granddaughter from a group of people that we believe to be the bad guys. And I love the quirkiness of Nicolas Cage. If you're ready for Halloween just around the corner, Apple TV Plus is bringing you Bad Candy. This looks like a throwback to some old school 80s slasher film. It's starring Corey Taylor from Slipknot, which pulls me in instantly. Seems to be a group of monsters has been released on a small town on Halloween. They all are different. It's my type of Halloween film. Check out Bad Candy on Apple TV Plus. This week on Hulu, we have The Premise. Created by BJ Novak, this sounds like an amazing anthology series where it says it will tackle modern issues that are relevant to today's now and time, and no topic will be off limits. I don't know about you, but it sounds like something that we need, and I am intrigued to watch it. Wrapping things up this week on HBO Max, we have the Clint Eastwood directed Cry Macho. It's the tale of basically a washed up rodeo star who gets given the task of going and kidnapping a boy who's run into some trouble in Mexico, and their journey back to Texas. Watching the trailer alone, I can tell you this looks like an amazing film. Clint Eastwood never disappoints. He always produces a great film, and this is another one I cannot wait to watch. Thanks again, Real Study viewers. I am so excited to be a part of the new changes that are occurring in this podcast, and it is absolutely exciting, and I hope you're along for the ride. Thanks for watching.
All right. And that is Sean with the pre-review. He reviews the movies before they're released to tell you whether he's excited about them or not, and lets us know what's coming out so we can keep track. I know I don't have time, so I appreciate the hard work he puts in. So
I have to say, I love those.
They are fun. He does great. And he's slowly refining his method like me, just it's a slow work in progress at all times, which is great. Seven is a hell of a movie. There is a spelling thing, though, with Seven, and it's that. Oh, as I spell it all wrong. Look at me all night long. I'm going to do it wrong in every way. So there you go. So now we're going to switch over to the poster roll real quick, and that is here. And that means that the last thing we're going to be reviewing tonight, and without Mr. Snidbits, will be Shang-Chi. The three other panelists, co-hosts, have seen the film, and we want to go ahead and let them discuss it. So if you haven't seen Shang-Chi, there will be plenty of spoilers. If you don't care about spoilers, go for it and stay. I care about spoilers, so I will be dipping out, but I'll still be on camera. I'll be here. So how about Black Girl Marvel is going to run the panel? And I had to say it slow to make sure I said it right. And we'll let
So
her
good though.
we'll let her run the panel and give me a thumbs up when you're done, and I'll come back and we'll finalize the show. And
You,
all
you
right,
get 30 minutes of babysitting time with that slow build.
with a slow build, okay, 30 isn't quite worth the hour. Okay, I'll remember that. We'll move back over the drive-in, and you guys have fun.
Right? So we're gonna be spoiling the heck out of some Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Let's start with all the movie things, Brian. What's your initial like first thoughts of Shang-Chi?
Oh my god! Like what? I love this movie. I mean, like I could talk forever about every little thing that I loved about this movie. I mean, it's definitely one of my favorite MCU films. I think it's a long time coming. This thing had so many things going against it too. One just being a brand new character in the MCU, not introduced in some other property. Like I mean, that was a risk in itself, and of course it being a Labor Day weekend release, and all the things that we've talked about before that were going against it. Um, yeah, I mean, no, I
You can
absolutely loved it.
spoil
I
it.
saw it twice.
You can spoil it.
Oh yeah, like I forgot I could spoil it.
You
Um,
giving me for free.
yeah, I mean, like I said, what can I like? There's so many things I want to say about it, but I mean, the fight sequences were amazing. Um, as soon as that bus fight sequence started up,
Mhm.
I mean, I was like literally on the edge of my seat, like normally I'm sitting back pretty relaxed in a theater, but I was like literally like this, just watching like a kid. I mean, loved it. Um, I love the villain we get in his father. I love how they play with idea of the Mandarin and like being like kind of like this like funny kind of trope and not a real thing in a way. Like he talks about how he's been called all these different things, and um, I love seeing Trevor Slattery back. And of course Morris. Like I mean, I instantly bought a Morris T-shirt. Like I have this. I mean, everyone's loving Morris. I'm seeing like people buying the Morris plushies. Um, but like just like the it had everything. I mean, like it had great humor, all the action you can want in an MCU film, but different too from normal MCU films. I mean, I feel like this is very grounded, and but then also, but also it has like these fantasy elements where it's like this crazy world that we've never seen before, and I can't wait to see where it goes. I can't wait to see where we see Shang-Chi pop up elsewhere in the MCU. So yeah, I've seen it twice, and I may see it again, in theaters too. So it had another great weekend also. So it's
Mhm.
has like 238 million globally now. So
Love
it's a
it.
hit. Yeah. Hmm.
Okay, Mr. Murray, like you are the special one off the bunch because you went to a special screening
Oh my goodness.
of the film.
Mm,
Please give us details, like just because I know you had to like hold this in for a minute because you saw it like
right.
way earlier than everybody
Yeah.
else, and so give us like pour your heart out, man. Tell us.
Okay, so just so you guys know, this is exclusive because like I haven't given my spoiler review of this even on TikTok. I went spoiler free because I think we got to remember this is a global pandemic still, and just from like my followers on TikTok,
Hmm.
there are people in Australia and New Zealand who have not seen this because they're still in lockdown because they just had another run of
Right.
lockdowns, and so they haven't even been able to go see this film. And where I do understand the necessity of this being in theaters only because it needs to have more of an understanding of what the revenue is billed for it, as to how people are interested in what the response is to it. I do see benefits in having that Disney Plus release. And I do understand, moving forward, we're going to have this like 45-day window for most stuff. Some of the Disney stuff is going to be 30 days, but
Hmm.
so Wednesday the 1st, 2 days, well, technically a day, but 2 days before it was officially out everywhere. I was invited by a movie review group called Watcher Pass on YouTube, who um, are based in the DMV, but they do a lot of good reviews. And I love their name because it kind of gives the idea. They're giving you reviews about whether you should watch it or just pass on the film.
Hmm.
Which I think you should still everybody should give films their own, their own viewing of it because everybody thinks of things differently. There are times where I thought Siskel and Ebert and all of them were wrong about what their interpretations were. But I went, I got a picture with my wife at the wall where they had the Shang-Chi thing. So even though it was just at a theater, but it was like, we were special. We had our little scan-ins. Um, it made us feel special. And, the only thing I was regretting, like they didn't have any, like, there was no trailers beforehand because this was all about just Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
And, but the movie, I came in with a lot of expectations because I'd already seen a lot of people like Straw Hat Goofy and Soups and Jay Stoops give their initial reactions without saying anything about the film, because they got invited to the premiere, bleh. But we're getting there. We'll get there at some point. But
Yeah.
um, but it was a lot of fun. Sitting there watching the film, I got that excitement that I did when I first saw Iron Man. Because I felt like it was just something new. And
Yeah.
a lot of people are hating on this film without watching it because they're thinking that this is just pandering to people of color, and that's not what it is. It's expanding. We're talking about the greatest thing about the Marvel Cinematic Universe is that it is a cinematic universe, which means it is going to be able to touch every area of the world and the Marvel universe as a whole. And that means that there are characters in every walk of life. Superheroes don't just live in New York City, or
Yeah.
they're not just all white people like we saw with the
Yeah.
first phase of Marvel. There is differences, and there are going to be, just like in this world where there are people who I was just going down the road the other day, and we were out yesterday, and there's been protests and stuff going on because of 9/11 and whatnot. And there was Black Lives Matter on one side of the road. And then there were these stupid All Lives Matter people on the other side and of course, they're all white. So, I'm just sitting, and it's like, there are people who will just hate this film because everyone's excited because it's an Asian superhero. And Simu Liu, I love this man to death.
Oh yeah. Oh my
People
God.
who have been mocking this film, like he is using, because he used to do stock photos. He is
Yeah, the
using
stock photo
the
thing
stock photos to meme people.
it's
And
so
it's
good. He's
fantastic.
just trolling people with his stock photos. Yeah.
Yes. But going into the film, I was excited about figuring out what happened to Trevor Slattery because I knew after phase 2, when we got the All Hail the King Marvel one shot, that they had to have more with it. Like, I know a lot of people were disappointed with Iron Man 3 because the Mandarin became this, this actor that, Trevor Slattery, which I love the character. I just didn't like that we didn't get a Mandarin. And
Right.
then
Yeah.
All Hail the King happened. And I was like, okay, we're going to see this down the road. They have to do something with this. And then when Wenwu, and again, spoilers, everybody, when Wenwu actually describes that whole, he basically does Iron Man 3 in like 3 sentences.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he
And
explains
like
the
a
whole.
dinner conversation.
Yes, and he's
You know?
talking about how, and they even gave this guy the name of like a Chinese dish. And like they made fun of the name Mandarin because
Yeah.
he
Yeah. Yeah.
never
I love
calls
it.
himself Mandarin. He just calls himself he's Wenwu. And
Mhm.
and if anything, he's just called Master. And
Yeah.
you see this guy, and at first I started to like understand him. Like
Mhm.
you have this guy that he's lost a love, his past came back to haunt him. So of course let's like
Mhm.
continue my past and let's try to bring her back. And I will tell you, I did sit at one point in the film, and when they're talking, when they have the voice, the first thought I had was WandaVision at the end when when Scarlet Witch starts hearing her children. And I'm thinking, what if just like Wen was being called by his wife, and the way they're talking about these soul suckers and everything else, like what if it's Mephisto? And then when you saw the creature at the end, I was like, okay, you know what? I'm actually kind of glad it's not Mephisto. But I had that moment in the theaters. Um,
Mhm.
but you have this child who grows up in this, and there were a lot of flashbacks in this film,
Mhm.
and I
Yeah.
almost felt like there were too many at first, and then I stopped back and thought about it, and I'm like, it was better to do flashbacks than do a whole origin story of like, the first act is him as a kid, and then he runs away
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and everything else. But you have this, it's almost like you're Katie, his friend. You're kind of like the other friend that's following along in the story, and you're discovering as she's discovering.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I liked how they did that, and I think Aquafina did a great job, being that character. And I loved how their relationship was platonic. Like he didn't
Yes.
have to have
Yeah.
her give
Same.
up. They're just best
Yeah.
friends, and I hope they keep
Yeah.
it that
I
way.
love that. Yeah, me
Um,
too. Yeah.
so I love that. So ultimately, I mean, fantastic. Again, I'm getting excited just thinking about it because I haven't really just talked through it with anybody because I've been trying to keep my mouth shut. Um, but I'm just I love this film. I found Shang-Chi as my favorite Marvel superhero now at this point because Iron Man is gone, and we're probably not going to get him back in the iteration that we know because part of the reason why I loved him was Robert Downey Jr. and I love Simu
Mhm.
Liu for the same reasons why I love Robert Downey Jr. He's embodying the character, and if you go and I'm going to try to post a duet or whatever of it. There is a video on TikTok showing the regimen that he started back in like 2018 for like the last couple years before the film came out. He was preparing himself for this. And I comment on the video. I'm like,
Yeah.
he basically became a superhero to become a superhero.
Oh
And
man. Yeah.
and, and I mean, just that a level of dedication, understanding not only that it was a good film, but what it meant to the Asian community just
Mhm.
makes it that much more because it doesn't matter who you are, you're gonna love this film.
Oh yeah.
I think they used
You
Trevor.
should.
I think they used Ben Kingsley fantastically. I can't believe that they made us love a creature that has no head or butt.
No,
Um,
I know. It's
and they
yeah.
made
Has six
dragons
legs. Like
believable.
yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
and before I say anything more about like the end credits or whatever, I'm gonna stop there and we'll just when we give this the
Right.
wrap up, I'm gonna
There you go.
explain the reasoning behind what the
Well, that's the thing. There's so much we
yeah,
could say about this movie. Like we could do a whole show about this movie. I mean, it's
exactly.
Yeah.
I love this movie. Yeah.
Yep.
Um. So for me, this film was. I'm not gonna equate it to Black Panther, but I'm gonna do it in the sense that
Hmm.
of the hype around it and the meaning behind having the film have a
Right.
person of color being the lead.
Hmm.
Because honestly, if I'm being so honest, Shang-Chi is better than Black Panther. And and I feel like it's only because Shang-Chi wasn't rushed, and I feel like Black Panther was rushed. Um, because essentially they do have the same storylines, like Sins of the Father type of thing,
Hmm. Oh yeah.
and
Yeah.
having
Right.
Rise Above It. It's very similar um, storyline, obviously with some differences, but for me, Shang-Chi just it was a great ride. You know what I mean? Like I was interested from the beginning.
Right.
I wasn't bored. Like sometimes for some Marvel movies, I'm bored for a minute. For a hot second, it'd
Hmm.
be like 5 minutes, I'm bored, and then then something happens, and I'm like, I'm fully in. Shang-Chi, like I wasn't bored. Like I was really, and maybe it's because we haven't had anything for a while, so like, I was very attentive. I wasn't like drawn out from having like a movie a year or however it is, like something like that. But like
Yeah.
I was very focused on who this character is, how this world is going to expand. Let me see who the real Mandarin is. Is he as bad as people say he is? Oh, he has a sister because Black Panther had a sister, but they only did so much with her.
Hmm.
This sister was like people did me dirty, so I struck out on my own and I made something.
Yeah.
She was like a badass character,
Hmm.
which I thoroughly dig that. Like, and then it's just like it was just beautiful. It was just colors upon colors. The integration of the culture, like so Western and Asian, like bringing that together
Hmm.
seamlessly was nice.
Hmm.
Of course, everybody loves the bus scene because of
Man.
course
I mean,
it's
yeah.
one
It's
of the
like yeah.
punch
It speaks
like the
for
greatest
itself.
thing ever.
Yeah.
But I really love the fight between um Shang-Chi and his father because it gave me like a Zula and Zuko vibe
Hmm.
because of the colors. Like, you know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like it
Yeah.
was
Uh huh.
very lovely. Um, but it was like it was done well. Like the action was amazing. Everything was seamless. Um, you I wanted to go to what is it called? Talo, I believe it's pronounced like their
Hmm.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
want to
Yeah.
go there. I want that to be real. Just like I want Wakanda to
Yeah.
be real, I want this place to be real.
Totally.
I
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
to
All the
meet I want to
Pokemon.
meet Morris's
Yeah.
I want to meet Morris's
Pokemon.
family. You know what I mean? I want to meet his family. I want
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
see those I want to meet those I'm assuming they are Tails is a descendant of these people
I know,
like
right?
the, like the three-tailed foxes or whatever they
Hmm.
were, like those beautiful the dragons with the
Hmm.
very human plain face, like excuse me. like
Those
I want
horse
to meet
dragons. Like,
Yep.
yes, like I want to meet those. Like it was just, and I felt like they weaved everything together like nicely because I'm
totally.
pretty much everything you guys saying. Like, but it's just like I
Yeah.
was for me to watch somebody as distinguished as Sir Ben Kingsley play this type of character,
Hmm.
right? Who could think that a goofy character could elevate a movie? You
Right.
can if Sir Ben is playing the character because it's
Did
just
you hear?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you hear what he said when he took this role back on?
no.
Like they were asking him like, what made you want to come and take this role? He actually said that in doing this role, he actually had a conversation with Trevor Slattery. Like he was talking about how like in like Trevor Slattery's character, like he was talking about it and just that duality with him. I think he
Yeah.
loves his character as much as I think we love him.
Yeah.
I think
So
he does too because it's
Yeah.
like think about it though. It's a role where it's like I ain't gotta learn Shakespeare. I ain't gotta be all like oh so
You
like
can just
it's
have fun.
just
Yeah.
have
oh my
fun.
goodness,
Like
yes.
I don't think actors of his caliber get to have fun because everybody's waiting for the next
Right.
Oscar moment that he's going to do, and Marvel
Yeah.
just gave him a chance to like play,
Yeah.
and
Totally.
he
I can see that.
like, masterfully. Like I just love it. I will say I do miss Stan Lee not being in
Right.
this film. Miss Stan
Yeah.
Lee.
Um,
I have a petition that the guy on the bus should be the
Yeah. I remember
new
you
guy
mentioned
that
this part of it. Yeah.
in all the movies. He needs to be the new guy that
He's,
pops up all the movies. He
yeah.
should
Yeah.
take. I'm not taking Stan Lee's place because nobody can. But he's already been established within his universe because I believe he was in
Yeah.
Winter
He's been
Soldier.
like in.
he was in
Yeah.
Homecoming.
He's been in like. Yeah. He was in
He was the guy.
Homecoming.
He was the guy who told Superman, Spider-Man to do a flip.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my thing is, you're already in this universe. They should just have him in like all the films now. Like I would just dig that. I
Mhm.
think that should
That'd
be
be funny.
his role. Um,
Yep.
even with them adding in that kid like on the phone, that's what we do today. Like we're like a fight happens, we're not scared. We're like, yo, everybody just have
Yeah. Like check this out.
coordinate.
I'm
So
gonna
I
rate
thought
this fight for you. Like what?
exactly like I want to get
Yeah.
these views, you know? But everything was like everything that they established, like every time that Sean, I'm gonna call him Sean, that Sean and Katie popped up somewhere, the world was beautiful. Like when they went to the sisters like underground fighting facility or whatever, it was very well established what this is. You wasn't confused walking in. Of course, he was he was laying it down like this is what happens, this is what we do. But it was very well established,
Mhm.
you know. And then you seeing other characters with different powers, and it was just amazing. I just love it. And you got like strong female characters, and I'm always for that because we need more of that.
Hmm.
And the fact that she's taking over for her father, let's go. Like, like I want to know what I want to know if she's going to be
Yeah.
like
Like
a dad
what's her motive behind? Yeah. Like
her motive because she's
yeah.
bridging like the modern with the old school.
Hmm.
So I want to know what her because it didn't say because obviously we know that Shang-Chi is going to return, but I love that they tell us that the Ten Rings.
Yeah. This is a Ten Rings. Yeah. Yeah.
I
Specifically.
love
You gotta and
it.
like you have to wonder too. Like so. Yeah. Wenwu's gone, but the thing is like. Does she have access to like the entire network? Because I'm sure because they're like a global freaking network.
Yeah.
Not everyone knows
I feel like
so
she
she's
does because she's at the head of it
yeah
now, so word would have gotten out. But my question
yeah
is Sean not gonna realize that it's like because he thinks she's dismantling, and she's like,
Setting
yeah
up
exactly
for the Shang-Chi too. It's
yeah
I mean
yeah,
she's coming back because it even said the Ten Rings will return.
yeah.
like she
Um,
has to though.
It's
She
gonna be
has to.
awesome.
Like her
yeah.
character.
Yeah
The only thing I will say I don't like, and I guess this does happen in real life, but I feel like it shouldn't happen in movies. Um, she never got to have like pretty much everybody dismissed her for Sean, right? Like except I would say except for like her mother, right? Because her mother was like teaching her
mm.
things along, right? Like things like that. But when the mother died, the father dismissed her. When she ended up going to Tylo, like the aunt kind of dismissed her a little bit because she was just like she went to the son and was like, "You look so much like your mother," and I'm just like, "Bitch, I'm her
Yeah. What
daughter."
about? I know.
You know,
Well,
and
right.
she
Yeah
gave her little things like where she was like, you don't have to hide here and things like that. And I get that, but I feel like I know it's
mm.
called Shang. It's not called. Forget his sister's name. It's not. You know, saving her like Wu Ling or something like that. Like or
Jialing.
Zhu Ling.
Yeah
But I just wanted a little bit. Like I would have loved a confrontation between her and her father a little bit more. Like I feel
Yeah.
like whenever she was in his presence, she still got like lowered, and she didn't get to have that moment. And then he died, and I feel like that's unresolved issues within her now. Because you would think that
Yeah.
Sean would have took his place, but no, she did because I feel like she still has something to prove, and that could be strategic on their end. But I just wanted something. I just wanted her to say
Right.
something to him, you know.
I'm almost thinking it's
Mhm.
more strategic because I feel like she's played this character for so long where, she understood that basically they would not let her, train with the rest of them, but she still
Mhm.
learned and she became even more vicious because I mean, she kicked Shang-Chi's butt in that ring. And mind you, he wasn't really trying to fight her, but she didn't hold back. And she ended up she was like, beating up the assassins just as well when she came back to save them on that scaffolding scene. I think her whole play is to be under the radar because she wanted to get rid of
Yeah.
her father, but I think she always wanted to go and get to take the 10 rings over because I think
Mm,
that was
I
going to
can
be the
see that.
last. Because see, Shang-Chi had this ability to almost reconcile with his dad at that ending, where his dad then protected him, and it was
Yeah,
almost
he
this
had that moment. Like,
realization.
yeah.
Yeah, that one moment with his son, but she
Mhm.
never did.
No,
She never
And
totally. Yeah.
did.
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah.
for him, it's easier to progress on as a hero. For her, she's going to take what she can get.
She's gonna
And
be in
I
the
think,
middle. I think she's
yeah,
gonna be an anti-villain. I think she's gonna be in the middle somewhere. You're gonna understand her motivations. You might not like how she achieves some stuff,
Yeah.
but something is gonna happen
but I
within that.
love what they're doing because they've got her as the head of the 10 rings now. And then after Falcon and Winter Soldier, we have Sharon Carter, who is
Yeah.
is the power
Yeah,
broker, and
Mhm.
she's got the government under her now.
Yeah.
yeah.
So, so
So it's gonna be
I
it's gonna be
we're
very
gonna see a
interesting.
lot of strong female villains in the
Yeah,
MCU.
I'm
Yeah.
excited for that,
And the
and
only
I
thing I
want
can
them to
hope
be
for
like,
next is Madam Hydra. That's
and I want them to be like
Oh
true
yeah.
villains. I don't want them to be like because they're women, like they did like. I want them to be like true villains. If you're gonna make them a villain, make them a villain and keep going. You know what I mean? If you're gonna make
yep,
them a villain, make 'em hella and keep moving. You know what I mean? Like don't
yeah.
you don't have to sugarcoat anything. But I have a theory that um in the 10 rings that the beacon is to the Eternals.
Oh,
I have a
interesting.
theory because if you go to the Eternals trailer, literally something that looks just like how Wong opened up the rings to show you the inside of them.
Mm.
Same image is somewhere in that trailer.
Mhm.
So there was an interview
So
with the director of the movie, and they were asking about that end scene with the beacon from the rings. And he said if you go back and look at the origin of Shang-Chi, it's going to be pretty clear to see. And what that
Yeah.
means is I I gotta remember the name because it keeps, and they're
Mhm.
literally a basically like a transforming dragon they want. Um, I believe because you've got Carol Danvers and you've got Bruce Banner, which we could talk a lot about that.
mhm.
Um, at
Yeah.
that ending, that they're leading Shang-Chi's the rings, probably leading to the next big bad. And I don't think they would do the payoff that soon. It's
Yeah.
possible,
Yeah. It's
No,
and
I don't
it could
think
be that they pick up on the signal too, and that we're
no,
gonna see
I
Shang-Chi
really think it's
work with the
connected to them.
Eternals.
Hmm
But I
Because
really think the
remember they said
McLuhans
that
are what
like
we're going with it.
remember they said that like 'cause I'm assuming they all got snapped away and then the world unsnapped and then something happened and there's who's to say that this doesn't happen somewhere like because they because he said that a beacon went out the moment he used them,
Right,
which means that when the father used them, nothing happened.
right.
But when Sean used them, like that beacon went out to somebody, and I really do think it went out to the Eternals. Because something in the trailer looks very similar to when Wong opened it up at the rings. It's if I can find it, I'll put it. I'll make a TikTok about it.
Yeah.
there you go.
Quick. We'll go Brian, Mr. Marvel, like then me. Give your review for like you know the usual. You now 12-year-old.
Yeah. Okay. Real quick. I'm gonna say like 9.5 across the board. Like I 12-year-old me would have loved this just as much as 41-year-old me does. So
All right.
love it. Can't wait. I want to see more.
I'm gonna have to give this a 10. I really feel like this film was
Mhm.
well executed. It's a great starter. It makes me worry because I feel like Marvel cannot keep producing hits like they do.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering when the half-life is going to end up running out for Marvel. But I
Mm.
love this film. I love the characters. I felt like none of them were really throwaway because at this point they could easily come back and do something more. I love the family interaction at the beginning. I loved how we fell in love with Morris. I love how Trevor Slattery
Yeah.
being, how he saved himself from death, but then ended up somehow in the matter of like whatever 10 years, since he was first, it's probably more like 7 or 8, where he is, able to speak Morris's like whatever his language or
Language,
understand
yeah.
him, like just the fact that he's becoming this character that he almost redeemed himself from what, and I like him sober. I
Yeah.
like him without drugs. I mean, he was fun with
Hmm.
drugs. Let's face it, most people are, but I really liked him in this as this. He blossomed as a character.
Yeah.
I loved everything about it. I even everybody was wanting the death dealer, like they didn't like the way he was taken out. I felt like we didn't need
I
that.
had some stuff about that. Yeah. No,
Yeah, like
totally.
we
Yeah.
didn't
Yeah.
we didn't need him to stay in. Like we didn't need to have,
Exactly. Yeah.
Shang-Chi was already busy with his dad. He didn't need to worry about the
Yeah.
death dealer. And I feel like
Hmm.
the fact that he almost killed the death dealer in,
Told
Yes.
you
where,
enough.
In that
at,
building. Exactly.
yeah,
Right. Like,
like that was all we needed from him. And
That's
at
it.
some point that was
Exactly.
all.
Yeah. That's
And
it.
then I liked how we got Razor Fist and how we see
Hmm.
his little progression and stuff, and that whole turn where the assassins end up working with the people of
Yeah.
Talos.
Mhm.
So ultimately, I loved it. So that's just,
Yeah.
and then as a kid, I probably would love it just as much because I
Mhm.
like Forbidden Kingdom. I like Kung Fu. So
right. No, same. I mean, I never give anything a 10. I don't know if I've said this to you, Brian, since I've been on it,
Yeah.
since you've been
Oh
on
yeah.
it.
Yeah. Mhm.
Anything a 10, but I will give this like a 9.8.
I love
I
it.
won't give it a 10.
Great.
12-year-old me will give it 9.9. 0.9. 9.
Gotcha.
Because it's just well done. I really don't feel like Marvel is going to at any time mess up, especially if they keep if they keep diversifying, if they keep bringing in characters with richer backstories than like some of these, like, no offense to some of these like all white like characters. Like, you need that diversity to have different stories to keep that like magic alive. So I feel like if they keep adding in like not the usual suspects that people are used to,
Mhm.
then I don't really see them messing up, because honestly all their origin stories have a blueprint.
yeah,
And the only difference is like what drives the story essentially, but they all have a blueprint of how things are set up. But
Oh yeah.
I thought this one was
uh
different too.
and honestly I think it's different because he's Asian, right? Because you got like a little bit of a, it's still down home to the point where like you don't have to be Asian to enjoy this film, but also
Mhm.
it gives
Mhm.
you elements of like when he's like, how we got treated in school. Everybody at that table except for her husband was Asian.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So they all got treated in a certain way, but people can still relate to that because it's very across the board. But if you're Asian, you still feel it a little bit deeper than say like anybody else. So I like that type of thing. I like the platonicness of the friendships. I do think they're going to get together, but I hope it doesn't happen until like later and off screen. I just hope they come on screen dating and we don't know about it. It's just, it doesn't. I don't think it has to be a thing. We saw
Mhm.
their connection, how it is. It doesn't have to be like a Sharon Carter Cap type of thing where it's like a build up of tension. We don't need that. You know what I mean? It's kind of like already established they love each other in a certain way, and if that progresses, they can like move on like nicely. But this film was awesome. I can't wait. I want more.
Yeah,
Not
Yeah.
only is he funny, he's a human, but he's a brilliant actor. I think what's his name? Silverbrand kept advocating for him to be the next Bond, which I'm
Yeah.
all for. I think Bond needs to diversify as well. It's a
well, I
tough.
always
Yeah.
wanted Idris
I
Elba
had
as Bond. That was like my thing
yeah
for a
No,
while.
I want Idris. I want Idris.
something.
Yeah,
Something. Yeah.
Um,
I'd mentioned that
but
too in
yeah,
that
but
video.
I want that too, but yeah, this is our city free release winner
Yeah.
Shang, and I would put a thumbs up so that Smitty knows. And girl, I'm gonna delay so
We're
he'll
good.
know a little bit that I'm coming back. So
And I'm going to say this, and this is not when Snippets gets on. This is not going to be an issue. There a lot of Mandarin people were concerned because of some of the translations because it didn't hit as well in English translation.
Right. Right.
And again, Snippets, if you can hear this while you're getting on, this I'm not going to spoil anything, but I almost feel like the idea that the English translations were not as on par with the Mandarin that was spoken was actually I think nice as like how many times have we butchered things as we've like tried to translate it into another country or another culture, and
yeah,
to give them something that it's more like an inside thing for them, and then now I want to learn Mandarin because I want to understand what they're saying and understand
right.
the way they're saying it.
Right.
But I'm thankful that they have that little nod. You're good to go, Snippets, you can come in.
Oh, I did.
um
I was letting you finish. So I just wanted to
no,
make
I'm
sure,
not giving any spoilers. Yeah.
and you
No.
guys are awesome for making sure that I don't jump back in on spoilers. That's amazing of you guys. And it
I
worked
think
well.
that's the best thing about diversifying films is that it opens you up to wanting to know more about a culture and maybe learning some stuff that you probably wouldn't have learned if you were exposed to it.
I would
That's why
say,
diversity,
sorry,
like a woke thing, is a thing. You
right?
know what I'm saying?
The times that I have been most changed in my life were when I was the most uncomfortable and experiencing new things.
Yep.
That's all I've got. I wasn't part of the conversation, but I know what you guys are talking about, and I know what this movie means.
And so let's just say this, like when we talk about representation, it matters because there are some things like, okay, let's talk about Falcon and Winter Soldier for a second. The fact that Isaiah was living in Baltimore when Anthony Mackie,
Mm-hmm.
Sam Wilson went to visit him, the impact of him going to Baltimore and those cops showing up after the whole Freddie Gray thing, because that's close to home.
Yeah.
I live in the
Mm-hmm.
DMV area, and so that was like really big for me. I mean, I don't know if they, we saw all the riots and stuff that happened after that, and then being so close to home, of course, I listen to podcasts about that whole instance. Um, but for them to do that, to have him be living there, um, made a big deal. And even living in America, just because you live in, let's say, white bread Alabama or somewhere else, you don't know how everybody else lives.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up right, um, where my community was. I lived in the school where I was the only light skinned person that ever went to that school, and I remember like understanding the differences and a different realm that than let's say a black kid going into an all white school, and realizing what how the community was based and being a part of that community. And then I live out in the country now, and it's I have culture shock because
Right.
of how it is. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
all of my friends, I barely had any white friends growing up, and so um you know understanding that my cultural view with my friendships and the story of my life is different. Also, being a half Arabic person, it's very different for me. But it's not I can't say it's completely relatable to, let's say, what Black or Marvel goes through, or even any of you go through. And having more representation means we get a better picture of the story that's going on. And if we don't do that, we're missing out on what the world is really going through. And I feel like Shang-Chi, I feel like Black Panther, I feel like, even, Falcon and Winter Soldier is trying to expand people to understand you may not live in this, but this is real and this is happening. And even though this is a fictional story, the story needs to be told.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't understand where people think that that's not important.
Agreed.
And why
Right.
Yeah.
people, it
Or
just
like
it
or
baffles
that
me.
it's forced or whatever. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Like you
Oh,
hear that a
yeah.
lot. Like, oh, this is so forced. Like, all I want to see is my Marvel characters. Blah blah. Blah. Like, but people seem to forget. Like, that's what comic books have always done. Like, they've
Right.
always had something to
Or
say
movies.
throughout history. Like, yeah, and movies, of course. Yeah,
Yep.
that's like what are you
Absolutely.
guys watching or paying attention to that you're like having a problem with this?
You just look at history, and the history of all the things we love in pop culture are reflective of that really happened as we went through it. Even the movies now that we're not paying attention to in 10 years, you're going to go, oh, that's indicative of this blah, blah. We don't even have words for it yet. But it will matter. I do have to cut in because it is 9 o'clock, so we do need to end the show. As much as I would love to go for another hour, of course.
Can I just say one more thing, real quick?
Of course.
Absolutely.
It's real quick.
Of course.
It's about Shang-Chi. It's not a spoiler, but I will die on this hill. Danny Rand could never be Shang.
Yeah, I know.
So,
and you're right. I think I have to be with you.
Like, this is why when they casted Danny Rand for Iron Fist, when they cast the actor for Iron Fist, it bothered me. He didn't even try to learn martial arts. He just looked at his stunt people and the choreographers and was just like, just work with me. And
that doesn't work.
As much as I believe it's still canon, because Kevin Feige has not decreed so.
Right.
But
yes.
I cannot stand the show because the guy that he ends up fighting,
it's hard to watch.
When he was doing the fighting, the hand, there was that drunken master that he fought. That's the guy he beat out for Danny Rand, and it drives me nuts because that guy should have gotten it.
On that note,
on
that note, I do have a baby that I have to get to. Otherwise, I would love to continue. I promise I would. I love talking to you guys. That's why I love doing this show. And I know you guys are the chat. Absolutely,
really awesome. Like,
absolutely.
Like, man, like it's been fire.
You guys are involved. You guys are talking. You guys are a part of it, and that's why this show is on an interactive site so that we can chat with the chatters rather than it just being a standard podcast. And we like that. And thank you all for being here. Thanks to Silverbrand and Call Me by This Name Maria. I want to get that right as well. For subscribing, for following. Thank you, Cell Phone, Wallet, and Keys, even though you're not here at this point. Thank you always, Captain Salty Dog. And actually, I want to thank my wife, who has been extremely supportive and really helpful to make sure that I have the time to make sure this is doable. And then, of course, thank you to my ever-present and amazing co-hosts, Black Girl Marvel, Mr. Marvelite, and all the movie things. And a special thanks to Sean, Super Comic Guru, for doing the pre-review. I know he's not here, but he's amazing for doing that. And then, of course, Mickey for being our voiceover guy. Maybe we'll get him in here and he can do the voiceover guy for us as we move around live. That'd be fun. So, and there's more to come from the Real Study. We're going to have some new things in the future, and you guys will have more to look forward to beyond the movie chatting. So look forward to that. Anyway, I'm Mr. Snidbits, and for the Real Study, we're going to wish you guys a great evening. And because we're on Twitch, we're going to spread the love, and we're going to raid a fellow Twitcher, because that's how we do it here. You could do that if you wanted.
Right.
No, it's okay.
Okay, we'll plan on that next time or something to that effect. Okay. Let me get this spelled right, otherwise I'm going to mess up this raid, and we don't want that because we really do want to raid. This is one of Lady Crossheart's many people that she loves to support, and so when she supports somebody, I tend to, because she brought me along.
Is it Grim Lotus?
It is Grim Lotus. How did you know?
Because Grim Lotus is pretty dope to me, so yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to raid Grim Lotus right now, and everybody ready up, and you guys have a great evening. Thank you for coming to the Real Study.
Good to see you guys. Have a good night. Have a good week.
Watch movies.
That's right.
Watch movies. I love that.
Watch movies. All right, this was great, you guys.